Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's Comic Roundtable. Feels like, yeah, it feels like I've been gone for forever when really I haven't been gone at all. It's just I personally have been gone on a vacation running all over the place. So it just feels like I've been gone for weeks and weeks. So if I seem a little tired, a little out of it, more so than normal, that's my excuse. That's what I'm going with. But anyway, here we are again tonight on Saturday. I just got my comics today, so I spent the day, power reading comic books. So I am marginally prepared to be here to talk comics with my wonderful comic book friends, Mike and Rez. How's it going, guys?
Excellent.
Awesome. Mike is busy battling cats, I think. So
yes, yep.
If you see him suddenly in a panic, it's because he's being eaten alive or something like that. So we flipped the imaginary coin, and we decide we're going to talk Marvel first. So Mike's the only person who's actually got Marvel books, so we're just going to make Mike talk a whole bunch, and I'm going to ask questions probably while he talks. All right. So Mike, what'd you read this week?
The best so far, number 9 of Infamous Iron Man, our reluctant hero, or somebody who, of course, just wants to be a hero. Last we saw him, he was talking to Tony Stark of the future because he had this, I don't know, mental jump that he did where, Riri Williams hits him with enough repulsor beam that he has an out-of-body experience. He sees the Sorcerer Supreme, Tony Stark, and he's like, yeah, this is really weird, isn't it? And he's like, can you see around me? This is New York. And it's some kind of weird kind of machine or something. And so Doom is really confused on what's going on. He says you can't be Iron Man when they come for you. And then all of a sudden, Doom comes back to reality, and he sees Riri Williams in front of him in the Iron Man suit, and he goes, are you Tony Stark? And she's like, no, I'm like, uh-oh, no, this is not good. And he kept saying, like, Tony Stark, and he would say it a couple times, and she's like, am I going to have to shoot this guy again? And then he passes out. She turns him over to S.H.I.E.L.D., and, so they have all these people waiting outside his cell, and their interrogation booth is probably a more appropriate term for it. Sharon Carter in the storyline is still the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's talking to Riri Williams. She's like, get ready. You took down Dr. Doom, and guess what? Everybody's going to be after you, or you're going to be a big name now. And she's like, he passed out. This is not good. And you're like, well, you did it, so get ready. There's a separate line for those people that are missing the Fantastic Four. Ben Grimm is meeting up with Johnny and like telling him, I met Reed Richards again, and he told me to kill Dr. Doom. And they're trying to, they're trying to figure out, this can't be the real Reed Richards. And of course, the Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe, who became one of the best bad guys that they ever did. And I thought that was excellent storyline. Was also used well in Secret Wars 2. That's what we're led to believe that's who it was instead of Reed Richards. So it was weird that they even did that because we as the reader already saw him talking to Doom's mother. So I don't know what they were trying to accomplish there. Trying to be real careful touching my book that I don't leave 800 fingerprints on this thing because it is still crap quality cover. It's beautiful, but you don't touch it because it dissolves. It's like a napkin and fried chicken. So, but the people of S.H.I.E.L.D. who are outside of Doom's cell said, he is awful. He's like a dog. And what do you do with a bad dog? You put him down.
Put him down. Oh.
So they're getting ready to put him down, and I don't want to ruin any more than that. I'll discuss later in the next one, but it was just an excellent book. I am just thoroughly enjoying this. Bendis is writing the characters great. Everybody he adds in has great flair. Individual voices has been great. And the flawed Doom. I mean, he's seen people who are heroes, but he doesn't have any of that instinct inside him to save people for the greater good. Right. He saves people because I, Doom, am a hero. I, Doom, am Iron Man. And that's the only reason. So that's what's great about this.
Yeah, it really sounds cool. I may have to go pick up those issues, I think.
Yeah,
because this sounds like a great story.
Yeah, and also the Maleev art, that was really what drew me in. Bendis, I've seen lots of his stories, so I like him just fine. But I'm enjoying this. Like I said, thoroughly enjoying this book.
Nice. Jockio in the comments is saying that Infamous Iron Man has been really great, really good. So yeah,
Yes,
I haven't.
yeah.
Anybody I know anybody I've heard that's been reading it has been really digging it. So awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
My other comic book, and I debated. I went and flipped through it while I was in the shop. Of course, is Elektra. It is a mini series, so this is issue 5. This is the end. It was good. I mean, I was really enjoying it at first. Cabal's artwork, and I've shown quite a bit of that before in previous times. I love it. I could, anything he's on now, I'm going to jump on. I've really been enjoying it. He does, his fights are great. His super villains are awesome. All that. I just really enjoy how all this goes down. But the thing is that Owens did do a good story. I'm sure there was an ending that he was told to do. And of course, Elektra is in Vegas. She tries to help some people out. She is trying to figure out how to be a hero herself. And that was the story I was really going for. The I'm not a killer anymore, or do I need to be? Because some people are truly evil crap. Because there was like slave abductions and all that, and that's why she decided that she had to get these people. She found an entire shipping cart crater of people that that had passed away because these people are treated awful. And she's like, whoever does this is just horrible, and I'm going to stop it. Of course, she gets to Vegas, finds out the person who sets all this up is the Murder World expert himself, Arcade. And I'm often surprised. I mean, they've really been trying to push him as a great villain through all of the Avenger Academy books. So I'm still skeptical. I mean, he has to be given near perfect control. He has to have the godlike power. You have to get caught in Murder World for him to really do much. I do like it because he keeps telling people at the end. I mean, once again, the writer, like I said with Donny Cates last week, the writer finally tells me what I've been missing. He's like, you as a writer don't understand, and this is in a soliloquy that he's doing. I am an assassin. I kill people, and people forget that because of all the theatrics, because of the costume, because of the silliness. He goes, I do that because to keep it interesting for me and to give it flair. He goes, but I am still a killer, and that's what I want people to remember. And I'm like, that's pretty good. I like that. Of course, Elektra wins in the end. And it sets up, though, for the idea that somebody hired, and he's like, I'm a killer. Keep that in mind. So who hired me? And she beats it out of him pretty quickly that it's the Kingpin. And so this folds back into the whole Daredevil run that all these people spun off of even what we've seen in the Secret Empire that's coming up. They're building Kingpin to be this next big bad villain again. So
right.
And it's interesting. I like the idea. He's great on the streets. I don't really know compared to, the Avengers. If the Avengers go after him, can Kingpin defeat the Avengers? I think it'll be interesting. Does he start his own cabal of villains and bad guys?
Well, he'd have to if it's him versus the Avengers, for sure. Yeah.
Huh. So
interesting.
Yeah, I would say get it for the Cabal art. There is one, maybe, I think there's only one issue that's not Cabal art that really, it's a 5-issue run. Why can't we get somebody all 5 issues? I understand it's Marvel. It must come out. That was the only down point. So that was it. I was really kind of happy. They did end on a good note. I'm not going to pick up anything else with the storyline, but it was good. It was good enough for me to stay the 5 run.
Well, so if something else somewhere else is telling more story around the whole Kingpin thing, you're not interested in checking that out?
No, because I felt that the Kingpin storyline that I picked up, Marvel seemed to be kind of burning me lately on this.
Yeah, that was the one you didn't like, right? Of all of them, it was the Kingpin one that you were not happy with the way that panned out, right? That's right. I remember that.
and even with these, since I'm knowing now that I'm not getting an ongoing, I unfortunately I always feel that Marvel does. They'll kick out 6 issues and they won't say it's a mini series.
Mhm.
They'll tease you because if it's great, yeah, they're going to extend it out and they don't want you to worry about a mini. But if it's bad, yeah, they're going to tell the person wrap it up that your big 2-arc storyline is 1 arc now. So
Right, right.
and that's where I really felt the Kingpin didn't hit the numbers as opposed to this one. I'm sure they knew it was going to be a short run.
Mhm.
That maybe there could be more, but I don't know. It was excellent for
Right.
a short
But
run.
they kept it tight as opposed to kind of
Yeah.
dragging it along, making it look like it was going to be something big, and then suddenly having to end it up. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackie was saying that he's enjoying Kingpin and the Doctor Strange, the last 2 issues that he's been in. How he's kind of setting himself up as being this kind of not. I mean, at least how I saw him, and it was not necessarily hero, not a bad guy either. He's just a businessman, and it's clearly having this stuff that's going on is not good business. So this is what we need to do, take care of it, so I can continue whatever my business is. So yeah, sure. I've always liked the Kingpin. That's a great character for them to to utilize in a greater capacity. So versus some of the other stuff that could be out there, whatnot. So and that's it for you for Marvel books this week.
That is it. Yeah, those were my 2. Like I said, I told you off air. I flipped through Secret Empire. I didn't want a book that has 4 to 5 artists on it.
Right.
It just I wasn't feeling it. Even though half of it was Sorrentino, it still was not. It was not something I wanted to pick up.
Right. Right. And this was issue what? Do you remember?
No, 6, 7,
6,
maybe.
Because there's like still 2 or 3 more issues left, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so next issue that comes out is still dependent on how artist scattered it is. If it's like largely Sorrentino, you pick it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said I've been on vacation, so I haven't seen lots of news and whatnot, but I've seen little bits and pieces more about the whole legacy thing. That's still kind of rolling out, and they keep billing this, the greatest Marvel hero is coming back.
Yeah.
Do we have any sense as to who that is? Do you have any idea who the greatest Marvel hero that's not already in a comic book? Or are they implying that Captain America will be back being Captain America and that's the greatest hero back? I mean, part of me, the cynical piece of me said, oh, that's really what it's going to be. It's going to just be Captain America back, original numbered, whatever.
Most likely choices, I have to think, we haven't seen in a while, Howard the Duck or the Sentry. Oh,
no, Howard the Duck. It hasn't been that long ago since Howard the Duck had his own book, right? I mean, that was...
you're right. He did
a year or so ago, right? Yeah, I was just curious because the billing the kind of pitch I saw for it was like, oh yeah, we're bringing back like the greatest hero, and then they pitch some more stuff, and then they go, oh, by the way, do we mention we're bringing back the greatest hero? So clearly they're, I don't know.
Well, or we could see a man in a red suit, with curly blonde hair. He could be the greatest American hero from the TV show. That was. There you go. That was probably one of my favorite heroes growing up. If you're young, please Google "Greatest American Hero." YouTube that. So
I hated, as much as I'm a superhero fan, I did not like that show at all. So
I'm sure I'd hate it now, but what I remembered, I loved.
But I was just curious, and I didn't see the actual numbers, but I hear there are definitely plenty of books that they're going back to the original numbers on.
And
so I'll be curious to see if they give us a list somewhere to explain how some of these books got to the numbers they're supposedly at now.
Well, and I know a lot of them are having trouble because they're trying to count. They got so many of these, these mini issues or the spin-offs, and what are they counting? What are they not counting? Because I saw Dan Slott is still writing Spider-Man.
Still. Well, nothing changed as far as that kind of stuff goes. I mean, the impression was that Nick Spencer is going to keep writing Captain America, Dan Slott, because no one else knows how to write Spider-Man. So Amazing Spider-Man continues to be Dan Slott.
Yep.
That book, I don't know. I don't pay, to be quite honest, I really don't pay that close attention to sales. That book must sell well. pretty consistently.
Yeah.
It's either that or he has like the sweetest blackmail information to keep writing a book. It amazes me.
Well, and I even think he mentioned, you know, with this new Octavius again, he's like, you know, I'm really feeling kind of the superior feel, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that might actually bring me back. I love that run.
Sure.
But I'm not a Spider-Man purist, so.
Right. I don't think I am anymore either. I just want to see somebody else. And I say that, then there are other books out there I could read that are Spider-Man centric. You know, it's not like that's the only Spider-Man book. So
yeah, because I think
I guess I need to shut up and quit whining. But what's that?
I think Renew Your Vows is even still going to keep going because I think that gives them the alternate to the people that aren't Slott fans. So
yeah. You know, and I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm curious to see how long. Well, I didn't see it in there. Was Spectacular Spider? I can't remember if I read Spectacular Spider. You know, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man was going to be part of Legacy or not. So that would be the other. That would be your other.
Yeah, and maybe that's going to be the Octavius one. Yeah.
Yeah. So just look at the comments. Yeah, Jacquio says, you know, I'm a Marvel zombie. You called yourself that. You called yourself that. I'm a Marvel zombie, and Legacy isn't impressing me. What the hell am I going to do? Yeah, I don't know, because that's just it. It doesn't seem, and this isn't me being hard on Marvel. It just doesn't seem that special. I mean, I know they've also built, hey, there's going to be great jumping on points. We're going to make it really labeled. So I'm assuming on the cover there'll be some huge -- 1, and it'll have a big round circle that says, you know, jumping on point, you know, for you, which is good. I mean, it's good to if legitimately it is a decent place to jump on because, you know, especially with the new going back to the numbers. If you're somebody who doesn't want to read something from number 1, or you want to read it from number 1, you can't get on these books. But you know, I don't know. Nothing seems different though. So what's the point of calling it something different when it's not going to be different?
And it will be so great because it'll be that person who sees the Captain America number 1, flips it open, and it's Captain America standing there all in blood. And he's like, well, the Hydra War's over, and it's only been, and it's like, you're like, well, this is number 1. What did I just jump into? And then you see also, oh, we should tell you this is also issue 908, you know.
right, whatever it is. Yeah. So I don't know. You know, like I said, I'm not picking on Marvel. I'm just baffled. I continue to be baffled by the way this thing is rolling out and what it seems to not be. And I don't expect it to be, you know, Rebirth. I don't expect it to be that, but I expected it to kind of be its own thing, but actually be something different. And it feels like the last couple rollouts, the last Marvel Now, which was the second Marvel Now, right? Nothing seemed special about that either. It didn't come on the heels of anything. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Marvel Universe just kind of kept rolling along. It didn't feel like it moved the needle at all. And I guess I expect when they make these kind of announcements that it's going to move the needle somewhere, and I don't see how that has. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that was even after Secret Wars 2, and you know the planet explodes, and now there's just the one universe. But of course, there is still Weird World. There is still a couple other things, and I'm like, they did that just because they have a couple books in each of those, or they had an idea they wanted to borrow, like that Black Knight.
Right.
It's like, well, the Avengers of Now will go to Weird World, and I'm like, that didn't really work well, and I don't really know how all this is supposed to happen, and none of the other books were referencing any of this. So I've had some struggles with the universe now.
Yeah.
And I really want Marvel to go great. I mean, I started out as a Marvel buddy, you know, a Marvel zombie. I love that term now. So stealing that one. Because I jumped back in on Siege, and I bought every Siege book and every Siege thing that hooked onto it, and I loved it. I would love to go back to, you know, I'd love to see what's going to be next, and I really want it to work out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would too. It's good for the whole industry if everything's doing better. You know, I would like to see it draw people in. Maybe not rob people from the DC camp, but just draw more readers in. You know, more people that are going to the movies start reading the comic book. That's going to be good for all of us because the more money's inducted into, you know, the comic structure, the better off we're all going to be, as far as, you know, comic book readers go. So, and I'm all for some interesting stories. I mean, I you know, I do that. The stuff I really do enjoy, I mean, a lot right now, but what I do enjoy reading, I really do enjoy reading. I generally, those are books I really look forward to. So it's not, you know, it just, like I said, the whole making a big announcement, trying to make it seem like it's going to be some, you know, the next coming of God for comics, and it's a new paint job on an old thing. It's just not. I don't know. Anyway, any other Marvel news? Anything like that?
Not that I can think of.
I've seen more of the Spider-Man. I happen to be sitting around, I guess, stuck in hotel rooms watching a little bit of television before I went to sleep, and so I've been seeing the Spider-Man commercials for the Homecoming thing. So they're not retelling his origin again. Is that right?
No, I don't believe so. I think they're kind of. Hopefully, it's in the intro. You know, when they're putting all the names in, that's the time to put it in there.
I may actually go to the theater and watch it.
All right.
And I haven't been interested in going to see a Spider movie in a long time because they just kept rehashing the same stuff over and over again. But this is a new Spider-Man, right? The only thing he's been in is briefly in the Marvel's movies, right? As opposed to Sony's movies. So,
unless you do want to count Iron Man 2, where there was the little boy who has the Iron Man mask in that, and they're, of course, saying that could be the young Peter Parker.
But still, what I'm saying is that this is the first full-length movie with this actor playing Spider-Man, and every time they've had a new actor play Spider-Man, they've had to go back and retell the whole thing. So kudos for them. Kudos for Sony for not doing that again. So
they'll wait until number 2. Number 2, then they'll.
Oh, right. Then they'll go back and.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Aunt May will go from being this new young Aunt May to being back to the elderly Aunt May and whatever else too.
She'll be 20-something in the next movie.
Wow.
They'll know that's what sell.
Heck yeah. Tony Stark and Aunt May. Anyway, that's been in a comic, hasn't it? I feel like it has. But anyway, so no other Marvel news. Let's roll on to some DC. Let's talk some DC books.
All right.
Well, that way the rest of us get to talk. So it's not just all Mike. It's not just the Mike show.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do we want to talk? What do I talk DC wise? I did read a few DC comic books this week. So
Mother Panic, maybe.
Oh yes.
Panic.
Yeah.
I'll say right off the bat, as a person who used to suffer from back issues a while ago, there's a few panels in here that I can so relate to of the character, because of course her cybernetic, she's got a spinal cybernetic that's going out on her. So there's these great panels of her kind of wrenched over with this giant red, kind of like nerve lightning bolt coming off of her, kind of a thing. That's so.
I really
bulging disc. I'm like, oh yeah, that's so there. I can so. Anyway, what do we think of Mother Panic?
I loved it. It was like one of my favorite comics this week, to be honest. It just like you said, her pain was really relatable. So that made it really good for me, because I can relate to having so much pain and then trying to push through it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, hers more so targeted towards trying to do something that obviously she's doing good things, saving people, but her motives are not necessarily the same as what we would see from Batman and his team. And what I like about this issue is that we see her delve more into the whole the dichotomy of Batman. She tries to actually learn more about his movements, and by talking to that rat collector, the man who lives in her basement
rat catcher. Yeah, rat catcher.
Yeah.
Otis. He doesn't work as rat catcher anymore.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so she goes to him to gather more intel on Batman, and trying to figure out why is his whole setup work more than mine. And she simply comes to the answer that it's because she doesn't have necessarily that team construct. So she tries to go and see if she can get gather some kind of evidence or something, or intel, like I said, into information on Batman. When she's talking to what's his name again?
Otis.
Otis, there you go. Otis. She talks to Otis, and he tells her that his rats can help. They can collect, and I don't know how exactly they can do this, but this is the world of Gotham, so I'm guessing they're gonna tell us a way that the rats and him can communicate. But anyways, we see a crime take place with this one vet who's actually missing a leg from combat. We see him get shot. His missing leg gets shot off, and then we see him get shot in the other leg. And this guy who's dressed in a corner bag says to him, "Let's see. They say you were weak, but let's see if you make it through this. Make it through this situation." And Violet picks up on this. Days later when she is reading newspapers and trying to find some kind of connection between that girl that she saved from previous issues and between this war vet who got shot. So I guess she decides to try to go out and make some kind of makes a mission out of it. And she goes down to the doctor who's in love with her to rid of her back pain. And the doctor refuses to give her any kind of not really any medications, but she refuses to kind of help her, and tries to convince her to stay. And we just kind of see Violet just continue on dealing with the pain. And I really, like I said, I really like this issue. Just with a lot going on, we see Violet having a lot of personal turmoil with how she feels about this girl and what she feels like, how she can help her, because she feels like she's not really equipped to help people, but we see her longing to do that. It's like she's battling herself because of that training that she endured and that torture she endured at that one house for the orphans. And we also see her eventually go on a talk show to talk about her dad's death and what really happened. We see that she killed her dad in the flashbacks, but she says that it was actually another guy who killed her father, which is the guy she says killed her father. I think he may be the actual head of the organization that orphanage that she was in, that school for gifted people. And we also learned that her name was 17 in the organization, and she was one of their brightest students. So a lot of stuff, a lot of past about her. We see more inner workings within the world. We get a little snippet of Batman, he was in there. We hear his name. So yeah, I really like this issue. A lot going on. Really good issue.
Yeah, definitely. I really like that whole the part you're talking about, her personal struggle. She's not emotionally equipped to help anybody with anything. She's here. She's damaged goods. She's just here to wreck some people. She's got a list of people. She's going to find out who's responsible for putting her in the torture, besides her brother, who ran that place, who's responsible for all the horrible stuff to happen to her. And that's who she's out to wreck. And along the way, she's suddenly picking up this baggage that now she has to try and figure out how to deal with. And there's this girl, and there's some great bit in here where she's, she's listing off kind of mentally how this girl's, got all this horrible stuff's happened to her, and that she's not, she should have something. It's not her. And then she realizes that's really who all the girl has. She does feel like, and she can relate to that. She can relate to having nobody. And so, she's picking herself up and she's going to go do this hero thing, which she really, really does not want to do. I mean, that is a constant kind of a, damn it, I don't want to do this, but I have to go do this good thing, kind of stuff. And it's interesting that people who are around her are recognizing that. The doctor's like, look, I know you're trying to do good stuff, but you can't kill yourself trying to do this good stuff. And I did like the kind of her trying to think, okay, if I was Batman, what's Batman's methodology? How do I act like Batman? Because now I have to search out clues and do all this other stuff that is not part of what I do. How do I go about that? I loved all the aspects of it.
It's almost like getting a Batman story from the beginning, because it is, it's somebody who's untrained but does have some power and determination. While reading this, the first page of art was not very sharp, and then it gets much better as it goes along. So the second time I read it, I was much happier. At first, I wasn't. And then when I slowed down, I noticed things like in the scene with her bloody hands, the blood on the gloves makes pictures. And I didn't realize that till the second time that I read it, that you get like a face, some kind of like dog thing. It was almost very Rorschach.
I love the art. I loved it. And did you also notice too, like when the first few panels, like when they were showing her in a room, like, you know, looking at the clippings and stuff, you kind of like little etchings, like lines that were, you know, that actually were scars. I thought they were just maybe movements in her body, but I said they were really misplaced. Why would they, if they remove her arm, like, you know, bending, why would it look like that? And I realized later on that, you know, she had all these huge scars on her. Like, yeah. I mean,
yeah, she's been completely dissected. I mean, it looks like every like 6 inches on her 6 by 3 inch kind of has been sliced away at some point, is what it looks like. I mean, she looks, and I'm with you, Mike. That opening page, for me, I was kind of surprised. I opened it up. You know, John Paul Leon does. You see him lots of cover work. You know, heavily shadowed kind of stuff. Detailed in really kind of interesting ways. And there's some pages in this issue to me felt really simple. It was like, okay, that's a lot cleaner than what I'm used to seeing his artwork. I mean, I still enjoy it because it still conveys the story adequately and tells us what you do. And there's lots of it I do like. I mean, I love the panel movement and all that kind of stuff about it. But, you know, like I said, some of that, I don't know if that partially the way it looks there is because she's in that bright, well-lit room. So everything's washed out. And that's typically not what you see. Like I said, typically, you know, most of the stuff that he draws is a more kind of a shadowed. So you get, you know, this opening page, which, you know, is fairly simply line drawn, you know, kind of a thing. And then later on, you know, when she's like, you know, walking into the basement, then I like the art better because it's darker. And I think that's partially why that lends itself to looking that way. Because there's a page later on where she's back in her room trying to get her clothes on. That's much that kind of brighter, plainer looking kind of thing. So I think that's part of that element, is that whole aspect of it. So
with her surgery, I mean, when you look at the cover, it looks like they're trying to show you all the things that were implanted into her. Mm-hmm. And I think if that's truly the way it is, that's going to make that part of it very interesting too.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I really like this character. I love how angry she is. You know, she just, her initial response to most things is F you and give it the finger. Yeah. I mean, even the doctor, because the doctor's like, you know, because she goes in, I want something that's going to deaden my nerves so I can operate and not feel the pain. No, I'm not doing that because that's going to kill you, the doctor says. You know, like, well, I'll give you some painkillers that'll help take the edge off of it, but I'm not giving you anything that's going to help you go out and kill yourself. And she's like, well, I'll just get, you know, this other guy that's working there to go get me something then. Well, nope, he's off doing some class or whatever. And she's just like, well, you know, F you kind of thing. And I kind of like how her deciding, okay, I can't, you know, truly her back is really bad. I mean, like, you know, there's a couple of shots in here where she is just, you know, clearly on the floor, crippled in pain. She can't even get her boots on, you know, her costume boots on to go and deal with the situation. So she comes up with another alternative, and I like her alternative is going on this kind of, it's kind of a show where you go on and tell your harrowing tale kind of a thing that these other two characters have supposedly been on. And, you know, she's going to go on there, which is not her thing. You know, she goes on these shows, like the variety shows occasionally, the talk shows occasionally, just to kind of, you know, keep the spoiled brat image thing going. Yeah. You know, and she goes on this and she's kind of acting nice because she's going to tell this story. And I love the fact that it's killing her the whole time she's telling the story, because the story's a lie. You know, that the people she's making her dad out to be a hero, and she thinks she sees her dad as being, you know, a monster. And so, yeah, really, I really am really enjoying that. It's a great book. I will continue to say it is the best Bat book I'm reading.
I agree.
Yeah. And I'm also very happy still with the backup story. I know it's not much, but I think it did go up a level.
I didn't read this issue because I've been kind of bored with it the last few issues for some reason. Not saying it's not good. It just, you know, like once you read the Mother Panic issue, you're like, oh, that's so good. I'm full. I'm full. I don't need anything else. And then you try to read that, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. My only issue with it is such a small dose that I just want to get the story there, you know, kind of a thing. I don't want to take up my Mother Panic pages, but I just kind of would like. You know what I mean? I kind of like this issue was interesting, the story in it. You know, you get this sudden character show up and make an explanation and then get pasted almost immediately. So that was kind of funny and strange at the same time. I'm not exactly 100% sure who it was that got shot. That wasn't the old guy, was it? That wasn't the dad.
Thinking it was. I thought it was because you see him. I thought him following the couple, and then he disappears. That's what I thought it was.
Oh, well, it might be. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm still trying to decide if the toxic radio host is actually Batman. I'm just suspicious that he is actually Batman.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even think that. Okay.
You know, from the inside, you know, this is another matches Malone's. You know, him going on and him, you know, I don't know. You know, maybe may not be the case. I think it's funny they bring on the psychologist from Arkham, and he about nails down Batman to a T. In it, you know, he's like, oh yeah, these vigilantes, they're all kind of deranged. They've all had childhood trauma. You know, something probably happened to him in his childhood that made him upset because he's clearly never grown past being a kid. I mean, you know, the Batcave, the Batmobile, Batarangs for God's sake, you know. He's probably rich too. You know, he just nails Batman down completely, which is kind of funny. You know, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. Let's see. Along the Batman line, since we're still talking Batman and Batman-like things, Batgirl really quickly, issue number 12. This is basically kind of a one-shot story. There is a Y, and the Y has like a haunting. There's some ghost in the swimming pool that chases people off and whatnot. Somehow Batgirl has got herself there. She's trying to help the Y out, just being the nice person. There's these like ghost chasers there, you know, from your typical sci-fi channel ghost chaser kind of thing. That are kind of obnoxious, but she's kind of dealing with them at the same time. She's dealing with this ghost. You know, basically the story ends up being, it's not really a ghost. It's a girl who created a dimensional teleporter of some sort, this energy teleporter, and her mentor kind of steals it out from underneath her and threw her into it to teleport her away, to get rid of her so he could have all the claim to fame around it. Well, they end up getting her back. You know, like I said, a fun little one-shot story. It's kind of pleasant to occasionally see, you know, a single issue story. You know, there's stuff in it that adds character to the surrounding cast of characters around Batgirl. You know, which is nice too, because it continues on with the story as far as that part of it goes. But as far as the superheroics in it, one issue done, and I'm still really enjoying Batgirl. It's kind of a fun thing. I've got other Batman stuff I can talk about. I don't know.
Batman in the Shadow, then.
Oh, Batman in the Shadow, right on. With of course the Joker in it, right? Yeah, can't have a Batman story without the Joker.
Yeah, the beautiful Rossmo art. I liked it because it's the idea of, you know, as Alfred talks about the Shadow, and the Shadow's like, I have always been here. You know, I am the first hero. I am the trainer of everybody. You know, the inspiration. Like the entire Justice League owes it to the Shadow, and of course, Alfred's like, that's all crap. He goes, you know, like, you know, I have a gun here, and he goes, do you have a gun? And then it disappears. That's the part of the stuff that I'd forgotten about the Shadow that I enjoyed. But his whole interaction with Alfred, and the story I just thought continues to be good. You know, that Batman has figured out where he needs to go, and of course, it's going to end up very badly for him. So the last double-page spread, I can only imagine getting that as original art because it's got like every bad guy in it. And it would make sense then if, you know, the Shadow has inspired every hero. Maybe he has inspired every villain. So
yeah, I'm thinking Roswell probably had a real kick doing this, just as a general comic book fan. What? I get to draw a page of just every random supervillain I could possibly think of to throw in there, and it really does. You know, I mean, it's got some obscure, Bat villains in it and stuff. So yeah, just super fun. I love kind of tired of the Joker. I mean, I'll say I'm kind of tired of the Joker, but I love his portrayal in this. Orlando's writing of the Joker, his lines, just how kind of tutti frutti he is through this thing. I loved it. He was the perfect kind of maniacal. I love the art to go along with it. The fact he's surrounded by all these mannequins that he's like child scrawled, faces onto, and
Yeah.
I mean, so it's this not very detailed form. It's just shadows to kind of give you the face, and then I don't know if it was Rosmo or the colorist went in, with like basic Photoshop and drew, noses and ties and bats and Superman symbols and just all kinds of stuff. But I really
Robin. So
yes, but I really liked it, and him kind of surrounded by that stuff was just really, really great. Yeah, and the shadow stuff, you're right. It's really cool. There's just lots of good aspects to it. The whole, clouding the, the person's mind. Alfred's like, you can't mess with me. I already know all about this. I'm, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he still messes with him anyway.
Yeah.
But no, there's some, there was some really good lines in here. I just kind of liked, I liked, like I said, I really liked the Joker's rambling in this. I could hear the Joker's voice in my head as I'm reading this. It really felt the perfect kind of, Joker ramble about stuff. And there were lots of good artwork, lots of great paneling and whatnot.
What did you think about the ankle thing?
Or he protected his leg so he didn't get his leg all jacked up. Because last time he was fighting against the Stag, which is the kind of, that's the shadow villain in this thing. Batman went to kick him. He grabbed hold of Batman's leg and just basically, tore his leg up, wrecked his leg. So of course this time he came prepared. He had his, underneath his boot, he had he had the old, reinforced ankle. I really love this panel though, because this panel is, so you've got all the mannequins all over the place. Well, the mannequins make up the negative space. I don't know. It was really, really good on top of the whole, kicking the guy and all that kind of stuff and whatnot. But yeah, it's just lots of fun. It's lots of fun to read this kind of, because it's not canon. It's not in continuity. It's just this kind of thing. And the implication that, yes, that the Shadow has been for millennia, has been teaching heroes to be heroes, and the Stag keeps killing them off and whatnot. And Batman's supposed to be the greatest of the greatest, and that's the last person that the Stag needs to kill to get himself into, Shangri-La and wreck everything, get all the power that the Shadow has, and now it'd be really bad, having that kind of power not in a righteous man's hands. So
it will be interesting to see. I mean, is the Joker really going to let someone else kill or do something to Batman? I mean, that's his guy. So
well, I'm assuming now that he's all strapped up in there, right? At the end of the comic, the Shadow gets out of his chains. So I'm assuming the Shadows will come and rescue, and then we'll get to see the Shadow and Batman fight the entire Rogues Gallery, which will be awesome to see, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Whether that's great storytelling or not, I don't know. From a just general, superhero comic fan, that'll be a lot of fun. So
yes,
yeah, for sure. So keeping with the Batman theme for a little bit longer, I read Detective Comics issue 959. So we get Z in this issue, Zatanna. We get a little kind of back history. They change a little bit, they kind of playing loose with how do they relate with each other in the Rebirth world. In the Rebirth world, they met each other as like teenagers. Well, not teenagers. They had to have been young adults, because Bruce is trying to learn magic tricks from Zatanna's dad, from Zatara, and he's bitching about the fact that he can't get his hand to work right to do a stealth coin trick. And until he can do the coin trick, Zatara won't go on to teach him the other stuff, because he wants to get into the real. He needs to have a kind of an understanding of how the dark arts work and how magic works and all that kind of stuff. He feels like, right, because Batman needs to be, well versed in everything. She kind of helps him out with that. And of course, in the current storyline, they're dealing with this like AI super robot, killing machine that's replaced Azrael. They kind of fight that machine a little bit. The machine kind of freaks out when it runs into Azrael, because he sees Azrael as himself, and he's like, how could I have fallen? I'm right here. There's no way I could have fallen. He squashes Azrael like he was nothing, and then rolls on out. The monk that he's out to kill ends up being killed, and he kind of disappears. So it's left them with this mystery, of what's going on as far as that goes. Fox. Batwing is using this new AI technology, trying to figure stuff out. At the very end of the comic, we find out really why Zatanna's in the book. At some point in their past, she had offered Bruce something dark. And he kind of wants to collect on it now. And she's like, oh, that was a long time ago. And I should have never even flirted with that, because that's like some serious stuff we're talking about. And he goes, don't I know it? But I don't ever want to. And he shows like a picture. There's like a picture or a hologram of Tim Drake, which the comic was really good up until that point. As soon as I see Tim Drake, I'm like, okay, the comic sucks now, because I'm not a Tim Drake fan. He goes, don't I know it? But I don't ever want any of my people ever in this position again. I don't want to lose blah, 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 that whole thing. So I don't know if he's going to have Zatanna use like something to see the future so he can protect all of his people, or exactly what, because they don't really come out and say what is the question, but there's something there. So makes it, us question. Martinez art inside, I really like the panel work, liked the way the characters look. Some great art there. Definitely an artist that can stay on the book or do an arc or whatever, or they should find a permanent place for the guy. As far as I'm concerned, it's really good. The cover isn't his art, but
that's a sweet cover though. I like that.
Yeah, that cover is by somebody that another person I'm not familiar with, which I'm always excited when I see artwork by people that I'm not familiar with. So the cover is by Yasmin Putri. But the inside, Alvaro Martinez. I don't know if he's done other work or not, but I just really liked the artwork. There's lots of pages in here that have this like 3/4 splash page. So the page reads as a double page spread, but I mean, it's not like one big splash page, but there's lots of double page spreads where, like a large chunk will be one dynamic panel, and then we'll get lots of other panels kind of telling us story around it. And then I'm cool with that. See, here's lots, cityscape of Las Vegas. You get a couple panels up here, big cityscape, and the two of them, Bruce and Z, talking there and whatnot. So I really like I said, I really like the art. This artist. So I'm cool with the artist staying on it, because he does a good job of action and these great pages and stuff. So yeah.
I had always wondered. I mean, Batman is an expert in everything except for magic, and I always wondered about that aspect and why that was never explored, or why there wasn't more stories, or why none of his villains ever figured out to use magic against him.
Well, yeah, I mean, his faith is in science, and that's why. I mean, it's always been kind of the premise as to why he doesn't engage in it in himself. Whereas, like Superman, it's literally a weakness, so he stays away from it. He hates it. It has anything to do with magic. So yeah. Any others you want to talk about?
There is another Bat book.
Okay. Yes. Are we talking Batman Elmer Fudd?
Bat Fudd, yes.
Yeah. And you got the more cartoony looking cover. Here, let me click over here. As opposed to mine being the noir cover. I believe that cover, that cover is by Lee Weeks. Lee Weeks does the art for the large portion of the story. Yeah. This is a $5 book, $4.99. Was it worth the money?
It was worth every dollar and then some. I demand a 6-issue mini of this. This was so good. I mean, just the beginning, the very first page, as Fudd is doing his soliloquy, I really felt like it was Rorschach telling us, like the beginning investigation. I got that sense of it.
Yeah, it is so noir. I mean, it is the perfect level of noir, because this really is told from a noir standpoint. Classic noir. Something happened to the girl. I'm seeking revenge. I get tangled into this wild, entanglement of who really did what. And then at the end, it's really the girl stabbing you in the back kind of thing as she walks out the door, and the guys are all left, drinking their drinks because they all got stiffed by the woman. I mean, it's classic. I mean, everything about it is classic noir. And the whole thing is written almost largely narrated by, and we're in the head of Elmer Fudd. And so it's written with all the speech impediments that Elmer Fudd has. And it is so, that sounds ridiculous, but it is so perfect. It is so perfect. And a huge chunk of the Looney Tunes cast is in this comic.
Yeah.
And they're introduced in perfect ways. Just kind of, they go to Porky's Porky's is the club they go to, the bar they go to, and Porky's the bartender. And so it's this guy, he's got a little bit of a turned up nose and whatnot, and he stutters. I mean, this is a picture of Porky. It's just perfect. This book was perfect in every way. They introduced Sylvester. They introduced Yosemite Sam is in it. They introduced Marvin
Foghorn
the Martian.
Leghorn. Foghorn Leghorn says, I got a worse hand. I say, I got a worse hand than a blind dentist working on an alligator.
And most of these characters have literally one line. And in that one line, if you know the Looney Tunes characters, you can name them all off. I was reading the lines off to the disembodied voice today, and she was telling me which character was with just that one voice. And you would think this would be a ridiculous comic. It's not. It's a serious noir kind of story. Yeah. Elmer Fudd's not a buffoon. You know, Batman's coming after Elmer Fudd. And there's this great scene where he steps out of this hallway. He's got his shotgun, double barrel shotgun, Elmer Fudd style, looking for Batman. Batman's sneaking up behind him. And, well, there's nobody at the door, so he nonchalantly drops his shotgun over his shoulder. And then when Batman's trying to get him, he pulls the trigger because he knows Batman's there. Batman barely gets out of the way. I don't know. It's just...
Well, and it's even smart instead.
What's that?
What does he look like? I wanted to see how they drew him.
Here's one of the...
Yeah, as I say, here's Fudd standing in the doorway. There's Batman leaning over him. You know, he's all, oh, well, Batman's not there, so he casually puts his shotgun over his shoulder. Batman's getting ready to get him.
Yeah.
And boom, he almost shoots him. The art is beautiful.
It is nice. It's really nice art.
Yeah, Lee Weeks.
Is Bugs Bunny in there?
Yes. Bugs Bunny is in it. Bugs Bunny is who he's after start with. He's rabbit hunting. Let's start out with he's rabbit hunting. Because Bugs, I can't remember what he calls the name. Bugs the Bunny Wolves is who he's after. And literally he's there chewing on carrots. He's got buck teeth. There's Bugs.
Oh my God.
Right? And they even do the I didn't expect to see you here. I didn't expect to be here. I think I took a wrong turn in Albuquerque. You seem to take a lot of wrong turns in Albuquerque. Bud, you ever been to Albuquerque? Nope. Yeah. Me neither. Right? I mean, they put all the classic stuff is in it. It is so perfect.
Well,
why didn't I have this?
As he walks in, the little menu that tells you, the food, it's Hassenpfeffer, it's Thuffer and Thuckatash,
right?
It's banana cream pie. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, it's bringing back some memories.
Yes. It is, like I said, this comic, that first, I don't care about the backup story. The back story is just the ridiculous rabbit hunt and duck hunt. And that was just kind of dumb. But this, well, like Mike said, well worth the money. It was so perfect in so many ways. Man, gold.
Yeah.
Really, really, really. I mean, that is perfect understanding how to deliver all that within a actual real story. I mean, because like I said, it is a perfect noir story. Elmer Fudd is after Bugs because Bugs murdered his woman, and Bugs then implies that it's Bruce Wayne that actually hired him. So instead of Elmer Fudd killing off killing off Bugs, he goes after Bruce Wayne, thinks he's killed Bruce Wayne, and of course then that means Batman comes after him. And they even explain how Elmer Fudd's there and what Elmer Fudd's doing. Elmer Fudd's a hitman because Elmer Fudd, back when he was a kid, he lived out in the country in the dirt, and you hunted and you ate what you hunted, and then he reached a point where there was nothing left to hunt, so he had to eat. So he did the one thing he knew how to do. He kept hunting. He just started hunting for people instead.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, Elmer Fudd, the hitman. It's just
humanized a lot of characters and made them more sinister and dark. I like that.
Yeah, it was really good. It was, like I said, it was excellent.
And this week, I don't even get it.
and like I said, that's probably top book of the week for me. Really,
oh yeah,
it was just so very. Now, I got another Looney Tunes centered book, Jonah Hex and Yosemite Sam.
Oh man, I love the cover.
But it was an awful book.
Oh,
it was an awful. This is the book I enjoyed the least out of all the books I read. It didn't. I mean, so Foghorn Leghorn is in this. Also, he is actually a giant chicken. He's part of the circus. He's the pugilist in the circus. Yosemite Sam ends up saving him. Yosemite Sam strikes it rich. He finds a gold mine. He ends up hiring the baddest guy he could find to help protect him. while he's waiting to get his claim and all that kind of stuff. Of course, that has to be Jonah Hex. They get attacked by a bunch of people. It's just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. And they didn't, whereas this was so perfect. And here's the problem, maybe. This was so perfect. I don't think so, though. Even if this didn't exist, this still would not be an enjoyable comic. It just, so, there was a character that looked like Yosemite Sam and had some Yosemite Sam-isms. And there was a guy who looks like a big giant bird who was a pugilist. Nothing else witty, smart, or otherwise about this. It was just really drab and boring. You know, it was like an excuse to put these two characters together, which could have been really fun. You know, it could have been really fun. You know, they're both from the West, you know, but no, they kept Hex super serious and Yosemite making some Yosemite statements, and otherwise it was.
Did that writer write some Hex before that?
Yes, Jimmy Palmiotti. Normally it was Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray wrote Hex together. They wrote 75 plus issues before the New 52, and then they wrote all the New 52 Hex together.
So if nothing else, you could at least wrote a good Hex story, and you didn't even get that.
No, you didn't. It was in between anything. It didn't hit either notes well. You know, like if they had taken full on Yosemite Sam Looney Tunes, it didn't work well. That it didn't have that aspect to it. It didn't have a good Western feel to it. It just was a whole lot of nothing. So, yeah.
Well, it's cookie time.
Bummer. Could be.
I know, right? She's trying it today. She's like,
Yeah.
Okay.
So J-Rox is saying that he heard that they're doing a trade of all the Looney Tune crossovers. Do you think this will happen? I don't know. How many are there? That would be cool if they did. I mean, that would be kind of fun to read.
Yeah, I could see that.
Just to see all, you know, just to see all the approaches to it. Because I decided not to get into the others. I mean, I was tempted to get the I think it was Lobo. Was it Lobo and Coyote?
Coyote, yeah.
Or was it Roadrunner? I can't remember which it was, but one of those.
Yeah, it was Coyote Roadrunner. I mean, he teamed up with Coyote to get Roadrunner. So.
Right. So, I mean, that could have been fun. I don't know. I didn't get it.
Martian Manhunter and Marvin Martian was pretty good, but right. I mean, it was. I mean, the Batman one was the one that shined, and I had saw the art teaser, and that's what really got me on it was the hallway scene.
Yeah, I knew it was going to look good. Because Lee Weeks could do that kind of style, you know, that kind of noir kind of style kind of stuff. So I was really kind of looking forward to it. And it, like I said, it was great. But they might do a trade like that. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't. Yeah, it's probably would sell better than the singles, quite honestly. You know, but so yeah. Mike, you want to talk some Supergirl? Did you get this?
I did not pick it up. It was sold out. But go ahead and talk about it. I'm still picking it up. I'm not expecting anything out of the story. I was getting it for the Jolene art.
Sure. And the art continues to be beautiful in it. The issue probably goes kind of where you expect it to. This is the last issue in it. You know, she's been kind of led astray by this other Kryptonian. You know, he's kind of psycho. He thinks the whole planet should be ripped apart for what's happened to him, which is kind of justifiable. I mean, he's spent almost since about 87, he has been under lock and key and being kind of experimented on. So I see why he feels the way he does and whatnot. Of course, Kara has a completely different experience with humanity. People are good. You know, there are bad people, but there are lots of good people too. You know, they come into conflict with each other. He tries to kill off her other best friend. She saves her. Of course, then comes clean to the fact that, yes, she's got superpowers and whatnot. That girl kind of introduces her to the idea that, hey, maybe you should go to Metropolis and check out this other guy that's supposedly there who seems to have a lot of the same powers as you. You know, maybe he's something, you know, kind of thing. It ends really well. It's enjoyable. It ends in a place where you could see more story forward kind of thing. But no, it's really good. The art is absolutely fabulous in it. You know, the Jillian Jones art is great. So yes. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, like you were saying, it's the Jillian Jones art really that makes it, because it's not like it's telling me some totally eye-opening new way to look at Supergirl by any means. But it was enjoyable. And it, like I said, it leaves the door open for the next thing. There's a little bit of Lex Luthor in here, you know, as a potential problem down the road for her. So yeah, it has all those kind of elements that make it interesting too. So, but I really enjoyed it, and I like this format. I mean, it's more expensive going this route, but I like the square bound. What was the price tag on this? I can't remember.
There was no ads. It's like $6. It's
$5.99, $6, but it's oversized, square bound.
No ads, so you get the whole story. I mean, that was
hardcover stock, no ads in it anywhere. It's cover to back.
I'd love to have every comic like that. So
it's just, and like I said, just great. Julian Jones art, if nothing else. So.
And if they did it that way, maybe we get less stinker books because they couldn't afford to make stinkers.
Right. So hopefully, though, that now that Supergirl is done, we can get back to finishing up Lady Killer.
Yeah, because we need one more issue, don't we?
Of Lady Killer?
Yeah.
Yeah, at least one more issue, right?
Okay. I thought it was one more because I saw that Longbox was talking about the trade. He showed that, and I'm like, I missed an issue because I don't remember.
Right. No, it's not done yet. Yeah.
All right.
Christina's asking if this is DC's new format. I don't know. This is the only book. This is the only book I've seen that's like that's kind of like this. That's actually more than just a single issue special thing. So I don't know. And she's saying it's nice to see Tamaki doing single issues. It was. I mean, it was a good story. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm reading it for the art, but it was a good story. I mean, it hit the right notes as far as I'm concerned. For a Supergirl story. And you could know nothing about superheroes and superhero comics as a whole, other than the brief reference to Superman at the very end of this issue. You would not need to know nothing. And you could read this and be on board with who she is as a young, as a young woman, as a teenager, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
What else has Tamaki done, or what's she well known for?
The Hulk.
That can't be the same person doing the Hulk, is it?
Yeah, Tamaki is doing.
Okay.
I
guess you're right. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, that could be.
All
right. Because the other Tamaki, which is her cousin, usually does illustrations. So the writer is doing.
Well, okay, so you know more about them than I do. Yeah.
I read their indie works.
Right. Yeah, Christina's saying yes. That is the case. Right. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I really enjoyed this. It was lots of fun. What else do you want to talk about? DC wise, anybody got anything?
I got the Squad.
The Squad.
And of course, I picked it up because of the Sedgwick art. The same reason I picked up the Aquaman. So, of course, you get this, beautifully sharp, near painting style, and it was great. I have not been reading it. This is issue 20, so I've missed a couple trades, and I'm gonna start reading them on Hoopla. But in this one, they're trying to find a new leader. Something has happened to the old leader of the team, and so they need a new leader. And of course, it starts out with Katana saying, well, obviously I'm the choice. I'm the only other non-criminal. And then she starts going through the criminals. Captain Boomerang is too cocky. Deadshot, and of course he's a traitor all the time. Deadshot is right now a little too pissed off to be leader. So he says, keep going. Trying to think who else she talks to real quick. Harley is, of course, insane. And so the problem I had with this is they made Waller a little too nice. I mean, she is evil and manipulative, and that's what I love about her. But they definitely made her kind of like, because in this, there's also a love story between Killer Croc and the Enchantress.
Oh.
And they're like walking through New York together, and they are, I gotta get to the pages. So I mean, just the cute couple, and of course everybody is screaming, arrest this guy, get this guy, he's a monster. Why is nobody shooting at him? And you keep getting these little montages. They're doing all the touristy things, getting photos taken. And I'm like, they're both prisoners of the worst jail in the world. Why do they have a furlough, or what is going on with this? So that didn't make sense to me. But of course, it's a comic and it's beautiful. I don't care. I'm just keep flipping through it. I'm looking at all the pretty pictures. I'm loving this. She does decide on the new leader, and of course, the new leader will be Harley Quinn here. And she was very mad about the whole thing. Yeah, she instantly attacks Waller on it. So, and I don't know who Cosmo Nut is. I don't know if there's anybody out there who knows who Cosmo Nut is. He looked awesome. It was very funny. I'm hoping he's somewhere else in here.
Something like a hammer and a nail at the same time.
Yeah, I cannot figure that out, but it is just like I said. I bought it because of the pretty art. So as long as Sedgwick's on here, I'm going to read it or flip through it. I'm just going to collect it. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
I'm a sucker.
That's interesting. That's like last week he was on Aquaman. This week he's on
the Squad.
Suicide Squad. So I'm not sure how that works. I mean, I must have had quite an advance notice as to what he was doing to have this all in the can. I mean, I think he's relatively fast at what he does anyway as an artist, but that's really fast.
I've seen a lot of his work in progress. Him and Fiera both do great, Twitter, information showing how the pictures go. And I think both of them do it digitally, so they just fly through this stuff. And it was great. There was an article too with Sedgwick, and he's like, I hate covers. I can't do covers because it's telling a story with a stationary picture. Right. It's a very Alex Ross. He says he needs full panels for him to get his best work out. And I love that about him, that he that's what he feels. So
Right. Well, I agree. I mean, I don't know about his ability to do covers, but I agree with the idea that not everybody should do covers. There is an art to doing a cover versus just doing, whatever, you're doing inside the comic book, without a doubt. For sure. Am I the only person still picking up the Kamandi Challenge? Okay.
Yeah, this was probably the worst book for me this week. It was great to see how they resolved it, but because having his entire chest cavity opened up and all the organs removed, yeah.
Which I would like to know. I was really curious after that.
Well, they photocopied everything, right? They made a 3D printer. The scientist, that's why he gutted him, was to make copies, so then he could now 3D print them whenever he wants to. So they kept him on a kind of a weird life support long enough for them to reproduce new organs for him to stick back in.
Yeah, kind of a genetic resequencer filler or whatever, and this giant thing.
So the one they cut open was not real. Was just
he was real.
Yeah.
Now the new Kamandi that's running around isn't exactly wholly real anymore. He's large portions of him,
the replicant,
are reproduced. The organs, all of his organs. So basically, everything that was in his chest cavity is now reproduction of his originals.
Well, he took his originals. That's oh my gosh.
Yeah, scientists got it open, and
I'm triggered. I'm triggered.
Scientists paid for
12 issues. We're only at issue 6 and got 12 more issues of really, quite honestly, not that great of a story. I mean, there's some interesting moments, but really, it's not that good because people are just trying to fix the problem that the person before them gave and leave the next person with the problem. I get it's the challenge and that's the whole thing, but I'm deciding 12 issues is too long to tell a story that doesn't matter and there's little to no cohesion in it as far as I'm concerned. There's this cool giant bear city walking around by the end of this issue that was kind of cool, but I don't know. Mike, what do you think, Mike? I mean, am I wrong? I mean,
no, 6-issue mini is probably the way it should have gone with this. I'm sure they just wanted to get the names out there, and I mean, it'll be interesting. I still want to see the artwork for some different people. I'm upset that they don't use Flower and they don't use Ben Boxer. They used Rizzy, and I'm not sure if I remember him, if he was one of the original names of the space astronauts with the cyclonic heart that can turn to metal.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember that. Yeah. Well, we're using Tiger, but it's not even Tufton. You know, I mean, it's not even, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like the classic. I mean, the art in this was good. I mean, for it being Tan's artwork, and I haven't been a fan of Tan's art in a while. This is Philip Tan, but I think it's because Norm Rapman does the inking over the top of his, and Norm Rapman is a super solid inker. He does his own indie book out there, which I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now. But what I read of that, I enjoy of that too. But this guy has been around for a long time. He's kind of old school, old school in his inking style, but it's a strong style that has always been around. Now there's some awesome. I mean, I love that whole giant, this bear city walking along. That's cool looking. I mean, I'm not going to say that's not cool looking, but to get to that point was, whatever,
Yeah, the bear and his, like, everybody votes and speaks in his crown.
Right, controls him and stuff, yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't there. It wasn't there for me.
Well, there's not enough room to really make that story mean anything. Yeah. That's the problem with the Kamandi Challenge. We're not getting a real story. We're getting this kind of ridiculous, let's throw him into the next meat grinder and see how the next person gets him out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Though I do have to say, though, that last issue, it did excite me, though, to see how he gets out of this. I mean,
sure.
He is, but the how.
But ultimately seeing it was pretty disappointing, though.
Tune in next week. See how he escapes.
Yeah. So I'm kind of irritated myself that I've hung on as long as I have. Yeah. I want to like it because it's Kamandi, but I'm not really enjoying it that much at all because it's not, there's no real commitment to telling an actual, story. I mean, it is a story, don't get me wrong, but it's not the kind of story I want to read, I guess, is what it really comes down to.
I wonder then, because they can't use Flower and they didn't use Ben Boxer, do you think they're testing the waters to see if...
No.
No. All right.
I don't see us getting a real Kamandi book.
All right.
And this is a horrible way to test that.
Yeah. Well, who was it that did the Kamandi story in the where they were moving from New York to
Grant Morrison,
California? Was it Grant that did the story and then?
Well, I know. Well, I don't remember that. I know he did the Kamandi story in the multiverse when Grant Morrison was writing the multiverse stories. There was a chunk that was Kamandi. He wrote that.
That's what I was thinking. All right. So it was, and I mean, that was some beautiful art, and I really was getting into that story when he did that. So, wow. Yeah.
Well, it's a world that could be super cool.
Yeah.
It'd be super cool. You just need to get, Dan Didio away from it. I know he's in love with all the Kirby stuff from DC, but he needs to get away, put somebody else in there and give us a real story. There are lots of writers and artists that would love a shot at telling a real, Kamandi story, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah. I guess I don't know what stops these things. It seems like there would be a desire, but
but I think this is a hindrance. I mean, I think if people who don't know anything about Kamandi pick this up, well, I don't know anything about this that would inspire them to want to read a regular ongoing. Because I mean, if they don't really think through the whole challenge part of it, it's a pretty spastic kind of a book. Yeah. So,
I like the first few issues, but it just seems that as it progressed, and like I said, I tried to commit to actually getting all 12 issues, but it just fell off somewhere along. For me.
And it's more expensive too. It's in comparison, it's a $4 book.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. You know what's crazy though? I was gifted an issue of Kamandi, and so that kind of like spawned this love for the series for me. So I was really, really excited about this Kamandi challenge after reading Kamandi myself, and I thought, oh my god, it's going to be so great. And you were gifted Kirby Kamandi, which is
creme of la creme of comic books, in my opinion, and that's hard to compete against, I think, normally. And then yeah, this format isn't a positive format to really get into. Because even those old Commandees were kind of, I mean, there was a kind of a storyline that went along for parts of it, but whatever was happening in that issue was kind of one and done. A situation happens, Kamandi figures it out and gets out of it at the end, or leaves it on the cliffhanger to, oh no, what's going to happen next time? But it still had a consistency to it. Whereas this really is more of the, how can I write the next creative team into a corner and then laugh my ass off as they try to figure out how to write themselves out of it, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Which,
you know, we say like that. It sounds like they're they're doing exactly that. Like they're in a boardroom. They're like, you know, and it bothers me when I you know, because that's how it's going down. I don't see how that's even conducive for them to relaunch interest in that particular series, young readers. You see what I'm saying? It's not going to make someone go out and want to read Kamandi, because if this is going to be some people's first impression of Kamandi, and so they're reading this and they're like, what trash? You know, like this is not good. And so that bothers me because it's such a good series, like the original one, and they dropped the ball tremendously on this new one.
Yeah, because the world is a lot of fun. Kamandi is a lot of fun. That whole environment you can just go nuts with. But yeah. Anyway, so the only other DC book I got to this week was issue number 25 of Wonder Woman, the extra anniversary size issue entitled Perfect, which was great. Both Sharp and Everly do art on this. I will say, I know a lot of people are really big on Liam Sharp's artwork. I like it fine, but I think Bliss Everly is the stronger Wonder Woman artist. I just really like her pieces of work in here. I like a lot more than their stuff. But I love this story. It kind of, this issue deals with kind of the aftermath of everything. Wonder Woman's pissed off at the Pantheon, her patrons, because she feels like she kind of got screwed over, that she worked hard for them and she deserved better. And she feels like she kind of got, you know, she kind of got screwed. You know, she doesn't have her lasso anymore because her lasso is tied up to gods and is kind of in between dimension between Earth and Themyscira. You know, she's pissed about that. She's pissed about the fact that that the patrons have kind of lied to her this whole time about kind of the whole Themyscira thing and whatnot. And she's just really frustrated about that. The beginning of this issue, the Justice League is fighting this person. They're out in the desert. They're struggling with fighting this guy, and she comes flying in and just smashes the daylights out of the guy. She hits the guy at Mach 3. And you know, Superman's like, okay, well, where are they at now? And Batman's following him on satellite, and he's like, oh, they're over here now. And just by the way, she hit him at Mach 3, and he's like, and Superman's like, okay, well, I'll try to keep up with that, you know, kind of thing. And they get there, and she is just, you know, just slamming and beating the hell out of the guy, you know. And it's kind of like, okay, well, wrap her up with your lasso, and then we'll you know, we'll then subdue the guy from there and haul him off. And she knocks the guy out instead. I mean, just brains him, and then kind of walks off. And they're like, okay, or maybe not. And that's when they all realize, hey, she seems really pissed, but she doesn't have her lasso either. You know, and there's this great part in here where they're like, she goes to Dr. Kale, who's kind of messed with her this whole time, and wants her to. The cheetah broke loose, is out in the wild again after she captured her last issue. So she wants to capture again, but she wants Kale, who turned her back into the cheetah, to reverse it. And she's like, I'm not doing that. You know, she basically, the two of them get in a yelling match over, you know, are you really asking for forgiveness? Are you really asking for help? Or are you, you know, I mean, you know, kind of a thing, and kind of throws it all back on Wonder Woman's face, this whole situation that they're kind of in. And Wonder Woman does feel somewhat responsible for kind of what's happened to the cheetah and stuff. But she gets called away by Superman and Batman to meet in their special place out in the desert to have a conversation. She shows up there and she goes, you know what? I don't have time for this right now. What's your guys' problem? They're like, hey, well, clearly you're upset. You know, you're angry. And she's like, what? I'm not allowed to be angry? And they're like, heck no. When you're angry, there's always a good reason to be angry. So if you're angry, we want to know what it is. Can we help you? You know, kind of thing. You know, we noticed you don't have a lasso. And she kind of offhandedly mentions, well, I don't have it anymore because it's tied up to gods. And then she mentions that the Pantheon's lied to her and a bunch of stuff. But then she ends up meeting the Pantheon. The Pantheon kind of talks her down off the cliff kind of thing, shows her what she has gotten, that she really has gotten a lot of the stuff that she really wanted out of life kind of a thing. And she ends up getting the lasso back. They grant her a new lasso, I guess, or whatever. It magically reappears for her. And then it kind of ends with her kind of having a moment with Steve Trevor, and that's kind of the end of the book. But I just really enjoyed it. It was a good end to the Rutka, Nicholas Scott, Liam Sharp, and Bisk Everly run of this book. No idea what the next thing's going to be. You know, I've seen some ads for it in some of the books. I'm gonna read it to start out with. I'm really nervous about what comes in the future with the Robinson run stuff that's going to happen that deals with Wonder Woman's brother. It's an old storyline that Jeff Johns was writing back with the Dark Side War stuff. I don't know that I want to see that, but I'm going to give it a shot. You know, what's next and see what it is, because I love the character Wonder Woman, and I'm willing to give whoever else is on it at least a shot at it. I'm not just going to drop it on my presumptions. I'll read a few issues and then decide what I'm going to do with it going forward. But I really did like this issue.
Yeah, I saw in Mac Hammer's video, he mentioned he was maybe going to stay on the first arc, and then he heard what the second arc was, and he just decided that it's two giant arcs that he doesn't care about. So
yeah, well, like I said, I'm gonna. I mean, part of me is kind of that way. Part of me half expects this to be Wonder Woman 36 from the New 52 run, where it was this great, solid everything, and then suddenly we get this arc with people on it who have no idea how to write a comic book, in my opinion, and it just was bad all around, bad with a bad artist. The entire thing about it was a roller combination. I'm leery. Like I said, this first arc, I have no beefs with one way or the other. Its creators I'm not familiar with enough to have a real opinion, so I'm going to give them their shot. Robinson has written good stuff in the past. Robinson has written some really problematic stuff in the past. The solicitation story idea of it being around Wonder Woman's brother is problematic, and we're coming off this great movie, and now we're going to tell a story that has to do with a guy, the only guy on Themyscira. Why do that? But I know that's just a little piece of solicitation. I don't really know what the story is. I'm irritated by the idea of that, but I don't know that that is enough for me to burn it down yet without having a sense of what it really is. As we start getting closer to it, if I start seeing more solicitations and the first solicitations make it continue to seem like it's problematic, then I will possibly bail off of it before I actually get to it.
Because that would be an easy one for you to pick up in your new shop, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I would assume so. I don't remember seeing it sit on the shelf, but I'm assuming that with the movie out and whatnot, they'd be nuts not to have a Wonder Woman book sitting on the shelf just for anybody who walked in the door going, I was across the street, I watched Wonder Woman, I've crossed the street, what do you got for Wonder Woman comics? So I'd assume it's going to be there. So yeah, I do have that cushion as far as that goes, but we'll wait and see. Like I said, I really like Wonder Woman. I don't want to just go, I don't want to go, Greg Rucka is the only person who could write Wonder Woman and just drop the book based on that, because I don't believe that. I liked his run on the book, but there's got to be other people who can write it too. So,
and it is tough, like you said, when you come right off of a great arc to get into it.
Yeah,
I could see
I'm not familiar with the artist either. I hope the artist is really strong, because I think that's going to be one of the biggest factors. Is even if the writing is okay, if you got a strong artist to help hold it up, it's going to make a big difference. So somebody's art-wise has got to fill the shoes of these really good artists that have been on the book that do a really good job of really portraying Wonder Woman well. So, yeah. But no, we'll see. Any other DC books?
Are you counting Astro City as a DC?
I usually throw Vertigo in with the independent books, so we'll talk about it here in a second. Yeah. DC news. The only DC-ish close to news that I can think of, somebody just mentioned in the comments too, and Cylone mentioned it, is DC revitalizing Vertigo next year. I have been hearing from...
So you said they're revitalizing Vertigo?
Revitalizing Vertigo next year, 2018. Something big's coming. Yeah, something big is coming out of it. I've seen Scott Snyder say, oh my gosh, the stuff that's coming out of Vertigo is going to be big, big, big. I've seen Kurt Busiek, who writes Astro City, say, oh my gosh, you see the stuff that's going to be coming out of Vertigo in 2018. It's going to be big, big, big. I think I saw the head editor say something also. So I'm somewhat excited for 2018 for Vertigo. I mean, I liked when they did this last year in 2016, or is it 15? They released a whole, in October, November, December, they released like 3 books each of those months. They ended up not selling all that well, but I liked all the books that came out of that. I enjoyed almost all of them. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from that. So we'll see what that ends up being like as far as that kind of thing. But as far as DC proper news, I didn't notice anything, but like I said, I wasn't paying that close attention this week. Was there anything that was like earth shattering? I didn't think so.
Yeah, nothing I can think of.
Okay. Well, let's move on to independent books. Do you want to talk Astro City right off the bat, Rez?
Yeah. Because it was quite an intriguing book.
Mm-hmm.
I like this book because we have that one character, the David Bowie-esque character, introducing himself and telling us about this one character named, what is it, Glam?
Yeah, in this issue, it's like a 70s, she's like a glam rock, so it's Glamorex,
Glamorex, yeah, Glamorex.
Glamorex.
And so this character Glamorex, she's very androgynous, which I really like because we kept having characters try to identify her with a certain gender, and she kept saying, "Oh, gender doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where I am." And even the shots of when you saw Glamorex being very intimate with her boyfriend, you still didn't know if Glamorex was a girl or a boy. It was just I love that aspect of it. I love
there.
Yeah, that one scene right there was, and then it was a strange issue compared to most Astro City. Because I'm used to seeing something where we see a hero and we learn how the hero is developed, or how a villain survived like an island, kind of like a Castaway situation. But this was a situation where Glamorex is apparently like a rebirthed, has reincarnations of some sort, and its previous self, when it dies off and is reborn, all its previous memories of who they were dissipates. And so focused on Glamorex meeting several people that her boyfriend, I think Tom, had brought to the house for dinner. And they were telling Glamorex, "Hey, we knew you. I knew you from here." They were calling Glamorex all these different names. And Glamorex was like, "Who are you people?" And I guess at some point, Glamorex started kind of understanding that, well, I knew this person. Now I know who you are. And so Glamorex and Tom decided to, plan a rebirthing party. And Tom, him being an author, like a best-selling author, he saw this as an opportunity to write a new book, get tons of money for it. And it just, I guess, took over. He was his main priority and his prerogative to kind of push this rebirthing ceremony for her. Him. I'm not sure what they really call Glamorex. Maybe them. Yeah, them. Yep. And so, I think Glamorex was kind of like, I feel like Glamorex had some contentions with Tom because of that, but they wanted to push through because of the fact that, they know they're going to be rebirthed. They want to find out more about this rebirthing. We even heard him and Tom go out and inquire other people on this process on the rebirth, like why has it happened, how has it happened, and then eventually the reincarnation happens, and instead of a rebirth of a good person, we have like a destruction and complete, abolishment of Glamorex as a good hero, and now we see like a villain seeping through. And so really intrigued on what part 2 is going to kind of bring for us. I like this issue. I just thought there were some things that just didn't, and the story, how it played out, kind of seemed a little on edge sometimes, where it wasn't smooth. The transition didn't smooth over for me. But I liked the themes. I like that they had, because you don't see a lot of that stuff going on in comics, so it was diversity there. I liked the musical aspect. I like the reincarnation aspect.
Interesting character, interesting, like, I don't know, superpower or origin is basically as youth culture changes and embraces whatever the next vibe is, they disappear and reappear as the new thing. So, you know, there was Zoot Suit for a while, was a character that they've actually written in Astro City in the past. Just not very long ago, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, there was a jazz character that's the same hero, just throughout time as the new, whatever the new cultural vibe is, appears, they disappear and reappear as whatever it is. So you have this kind of, you know, early 70s androgynous kind of a thing that Glamourix is. I don't know, is this new thing that they're turning into, is it punk? Is it just angry? Because there was lots of comments in there about the fact that they could kind of feel the next vibe coming. It was this kind of undertone, this angry, and so are they becoming punk? Are they, and you know, there's a lot of anger and violence around that whole.
Honestly, I guess skinhead vibes, you know, because right after the whole, I mean, like right around that time, you know, you had skinhead culture, which was more heavier than punk, direct punk.
Right.
So that's, I kind of get that vibe. If it was based around the 70s, 60s, then it would technically be the skinhead culture, and then it would kind of focus into the punk, and then maybe after that, it would,
well, and
it mentioned
at the very end is I didn't much change as I shattered. So who knows? It may have not have gone the way they thought it was going to. Because, I mean, you know, they end up, because this one panel shows there's what they used to look like, and then they turn to more yellow skin instead of this glowing skin. You know, the X's across the eyes, and you know, calling everybody in the crowd putrid and you know, useless bags of foul rotting, you know, beep, whatever.
Imagine maybe calling somebody.
Sure. I mean, I enjoyed the comic. I love the narrator of this, the purple guy that shows up and, you know, mentions, you know, if this was a comic book, this is how we'd be acting. And you know, and this comic book is going to do it this way. Not unlike those other comic books, wink, wink. I mean, Bukowski kind of pokes fun at even his own work that he did for the Big Two, you know, kind of stuff. And I enjoy those aspects. Like I said, I like that character because that character clearly breaks the fourth wall all the time, you know, kind of thing. He gets frustrated because he's been trying to tell us this story for a long time, and he keeps getting sidetracked. He'll start to tell a story, and something will sidetrack him, and he'll end up telling a whole different story. And so in this one, he starts this shot going, look, don't sidetrack me on all this other stuff. This is what I want to tell. So I'm going to stick to this story. And even that, he doesn't do a very good job of sticking to it necessarily. So
he started off in one story. He started off in one story, then said, no, scratch that. And we're gonna tell from this part. And I love the scene with his mom when his mom was offering him food. And and her whole entire head is like a emoticon emoji or something.
Right.
It's so funny.
Right.
Oh, this? You look like David Bowie, but your mom looks like a smiley face.
Yeah. 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 Some good stuff. It's an interesting read. I'm definitely curious to see where it goes to. That's for sure. For sure. Mike,
I am too.
Mike, what'd you get?
Let's see. Did several of us pick up Black Magic?
Nice. Black Magic. What's your? You must have the alternate cover.
Yeah, I got the
dark and sinister looking one, huh?
The Liam Sharp one.
Oh, nice.
Yep. It was very nice. I mean, it was good to get the background story of Rowan and how she has absorbed all the memories and all the pain that has happened to her family. It was going through the ceremony of becoming the witch. You know, that, you know, it hit her birthday.
Becoming awakened, right? Yeah.
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 So it was great that like all of her friends were at her birthday party, and then she can't tell anybody about this part of it. And, you know, it's just one of those things that, you know, I pick it up because of the beautiful artwork, but Greg Rucka is telling a great story. My problem is that I probably should have reread all the issues because I had forgotten, you know, I was trying to remember kind of where it left off, and it was good. No, it was a good jumping point for anybody to get on it for. No, all right, no, I shouldn't say that. It was a great telling of her origin, which is what it was. And it didn't really tie too much to the old story except for like her mom.
the very, very end.
It started talking about like the bad guy monsters or whatever. That was good
Right.
when they showed what happened to her mother.
Right. The very, very end.
Yeah.
But okay, that's what I was thinking. Because so, you know, I mean, is this a jumping on point? I don't know that it's not. I mean, I'm just my only thing is that nothing about this issue tells you anything about what has been going on in the book.
Yeah.
Really, that's the part that that's why I was making the face when you were saying that part. So we haven't had this book for, I don't know, almost a year. It's been on hiatus because the creators have been doing Wonder Woman. So we come back off of this kind of, you know, scary stuff happened at the end of the last arc. If I remember correctly, we get this kind of hodgepodge of monster kind of people, for lack of anything else, because we don't have any other knowledge what to call them at this point. That we kind of get briefly shown a picture of, and then the book is ended for a year. We come back and we get this set in the past, you know, 10 or more years set in the past of, you know, 13-year-old, just turned 13-year-old Rowan, our main character, going through the rite of passage to become awakened. I mean, she's a witch this entire time, but this is her awakening process. We understand this awakening process. You get shown all of the past lives, your entire family's history, all generations get dumped on you. The Blacks, she's of the Black, have been around. They're some of the oldest witch families there is. And they're also they're one of the families that has been tortured and mutilated and burnt at the stake more than any other family. So she gets to relive all that stuff, and she lives it really badly. So we get this whole like full page spread of her after she gets bombarded with all this stuff. And she was told it was going to be this beautiful thing. It was like being told about color, which I love that, because the book is almost all kind of black and white, gray hues kind of thing. And Mom describes this whole awakening thing as like being told what colors are, but never actually seeing them for yourself, and then waking up one morning and actually seeing an honest to God rainbow. And so, of course, they color it that way. So it's just brilliant as far as the coloring goes on that.
Yeah, the bubbles, it's all black and white, and then the touch of color in those bubbles is just amazing.
Right. She goes underwater. She's under there. She starts to have her awakening. You know, starts to have a moment. The gray, her skin gets have a little more skin tone. Then you get this, the bubbles are full of life. She opens her eyes. Her eyes are this brilliant, gorgeous blue. And of course she gets out and she's freaking because she's just, screaming, make it stop. Because she's been bombarded with her entire family's horrible history weighed on her. And so then we get this double page spread of just how bad it is. I mean, she acts out in school, she's not eating right. She's, chopping her friends, doll's hairs off. I mean, all the horrible, troubled child kind of stuff. 3 months have passed by, and Rowan's mom is saying to her mother, "Oh my gosh, what is this? This has got to end at some point. This is horrible. Oh, it's going to get better. Don't go out in the snow tonight." Her mom's a doctor. She's got to go to the hospital and help people out. It's snowing, and she has, an accident. And we see at the very end what ties us into the whole, the last run of the book. There's this young girl with her lips sewn shut and these crazy glowing yellow eyes who clearly is diabolical. And she's like, "Mahaha, now you're going to wonder what happens to your daughter." Well, we all knows what happens to her daughter because we've seen the current time. So I liked the story, but to me, it seemed almost strange that this is what we'd come back to, though.
Yeah.
And now we have another month to wait. There's no Black Magic in July. August, then they're supposedly going to be back on track to, August? This was supposed to have been out in June, right? This was out in June, the end of June.
That's June, yeah.
I keep thinking now is August, but there's no July, the no July book, and then we'll get a book at the end of August.
All right. Well, I'm glad I finally put it on my poll so I won't miss it. Because I was foolish. I was just grabbing it off the wall, and I committed. It's a good book.
Oh, it is. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. Interesting story. Like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing, what's going to happen as far as, with the coming story. Now I would assume next issue we're going to go get back into the present. Now that we kind of have an idea of what her past was like and some of the troubles she had to go through, and see what the heck these these odd people are that are messing with her. Because I mean, I was under the impression when this book first started out, they used to have all this Batman at the back that talked about the kind of the history of the witches, and you kind of felt like there were these hunters, and that's who was the witch's worst problem. Well, clearly this girl with her lips weirdly shown up and the crazy eyes isn't a hunter, is she? I mean, because she seems as supernatural as the witches do. Whereas we got the impression there were these guys with the hammers, right? That they were killing witches. So I don't know. It'll be interesting either way. Rez, what else do you want to talk
about? Saga.
Saga.
Yes. I like this issue a lot. You know, we had some pretty good reads this week.
Yes, it was a good week. Good week of comics.
For sure. We see Alana suffering more from her, death of her baby, who's still inside of her. Right. Her still, the child's still trapped within her stomach, and she's, as a result, absorbed the magical abilities that the child would have harnessed. We see her throwing up some black goo.
Yeah.
We also see her have visions later on in the issue, which
she has a crazy dream, right?
Yeah, crazy dream, but she wakes up from it and then has like some kind of I feel like it's maybe real or something. I'm not sure, but I was curious as to what you thought. I didn't know if it was real or not, because she woke up from a dream and then she's in maybe another dream, or.
Well, that's my first thought is that you have those dreams where you wake up thinking you woke up from the dream and you really haven't woke up from the dream. I'm hoping that's the case, because otherwise Hazel's not Hazel anymore. Yeah. Hazel's whatever the gender version of Hazel would be, whatever the male version of Hazel would be. So
I mean, do you think it's a possibility that she turned Hazel into a boy? Because that's going to be crazy.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Her magic used her magic unconsciously and turned her into the son that's now dead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh!
I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, that's why I gotta find out from you.
That hadn't even occurred to me that could be a possibility. Oh wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I really like this issue because it's and we see this this ragtag team of guys.
Centaur cowpokes. The Centaur cowpokes.
Yeah, the Centaur. I was like, okay, well, first of all, how did this Centaur come to place? We see the mother, obviously, is human. The father must have been a full-on horse. Her, they were really against abortion. They literally, the first few panels, we see them pull a young couple that was going to get rid of their child. I mean,
so here's the son. Right, this is the son of this kind of scary horse head thing, but he's literally a horse, and then he's got a body. I mean, he's attached where the rider would ride at, so he's not like a full centaur. His mom, Ma, because they're Westerners, she's full on centaur. She's full on centaur, and Dad is human-ish looking. So.
Oh, that's his dad. Okay, you know what? I didn't think. I thought he was just a stranger, like maybe a friend or something.
Nah.
The whole yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing that kind of was out of place for me. I did.
I continue to love Petra. She and Alana are like my favorite comic book people. I would love to hang out with them because they're just they're the right kind of crass that cracks me up, kind of a thing. Because some of the stuff that she says in it. I mean, clearly she's having some needs that she needs to have fulfilled. Because I mean, like at one point they decided that they're going to go off to the Badlands on this planet they're on because Alana needs to get rid of this dead fetus that's in her because of course she's getting sick and throwing up all the weird black goob and whatnot. So while they're doing that, Petra is going to protect the rocket ship. And so Marco's like, okay, well, if you're going to stay here, I'll give this. He starts to pull off his wedding band to give her. And she's like, whoa, wait. Now, if this is and Alana's like, what? You're going to give her your wedding band? And she's like, now, wait. Now, if this is some kind of weird, triangle kind of thing, I'm not totally opposed to that. I just think it's kind of funny. She just kind of offhandedly goes, she's like, wait. I mean, first she's like going to protest. And she's like, well, I'm not opposed to that, kind of thing. But the ring, also is a translator, so she can understand. She can talk her way out of problems. She's like, "Ha, talk me out of problems." And she lifts up a big old sword because that's.
Yeah.
I mean, she's pretty militant, kind of a thing. They're all gone, and she's off by herself, waiting for them to come back or whatever. And she's out away from the ship, and she's got a fire going. She starts to cast some magic, and she's got her sword, and she cuts her arm, and she says some spells, and she's like, I don't ever ask anything of you gods, but if you can give me something now, please just give me somebody I can fuck. Basically, is what she says. And it just pours. The rain just cuts loose. They're out in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
The rain cut loose, drenches her, drowns the fire completely out, and she just gets absolutely soaked. And she's just standing there, and she goes, "Yes, I am going to die as an old shriveled up hag." And I just thought it was hilarious. But she's just begging, "I don't want anything from you other than that. Somebody to have sex with." And then she just gets absolutely poured on. And her just, you are a pathetic old hag, and you deserve to die alone, she says as she's wandering off. Of course, the bad guys are coming to get her, but.
Mm-hmm. Did you know what I like? I like the scene where we had Alana like was dreaming of this old little rendezvous intimacy.
Yeah,
yeah, they really drew some very
I can't really show that page, right? Yeah.
And I was like, oh my. And I mean, even down to the
let's put it this way. We know Alana really is a brunette.
Yes.
You know that?
Yep, the drapes met. But you know this, and if you look at that picture closely, like I was, because I was really looking. If you look at the sheet portion, tail is a lot of detail there. A lot of detail. I like it. I said she really.
Yeah.
She gets down.
Yeah. I'm really
drawing.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy the book. As always, really enjoy it. Now you've got me just dying for the next issue. If that's really what you're thinking actually happened to Hazel at the end of it, holy crap. Yeah, I just thought that she was kind of those, have a dream and then wake up from a dream, and you're still in a dream kind of a thing. But holy cows, if that's what's happened. Wow.
Because if that does, that's going to be like, everybody's going to go, like, they're going to shit their pants. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see exactly how that all.
You think?
But the thing is, Hazel won't know that she's changed, because at the end of that, the way she's acting, like, what are you talking about, Hazel? I'm your boy. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just hoping she's really sick and she's just, because I like Hazel, so I'd hate to see Hazel.
The placement of its wings and its horns, it was just like. Even the the facial features, just more squares and more.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh. Good stuff though. Good stuff. Yeah. Alrighty. Anything else? What else we want to talk about?
I do have a clue for you guys.
Oh, I read that too.
Oh, all right.
I was so glad to see somebody else read that, because I was like, I thought I was gonna be alone trying to talk about this one.
I like the old movie of it, and I like things like the movie Death by Murder, where everybody's trying to solve a murder, but it's silly and everything. And this one is that way too, where you see the butler and he starts narrating and he's like saying, "All right, well, obviously we've all gathered together and you're all here to try and solve a mystery, and this will just come by piece." And I was trying to. At that point, I was thinking, is that really the story I wanted? And I realized, no, I didn't want a serious one. So I did enjoy the frivolity of the story. It quickly gets very convoluted, and I definitely will be staying with it. Obviously, it can't be that long of an issue. It can't be an ongoing or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. What about you, Rez? What do you think?
I definitely like the movie better with Tim Curry. Now, if I had a comic based on Clue, I would have much more rather it be that movie than be based off the actual board game, which is what I really felt like this was. This is more based off the actual board game instead of the actual. So that was my hugest, I guess, problem, with the comic. And then the second was that we had the butler breaking the fourth wall as if he was Deadpool. That was something that kind of like a tad bit, because I felt like they could have went around. They could have went about telling the story in a way where they didn't have to break the fourth wall. Yes, who doesn't love breaking the fourth wall? But it didn't feel clever at all. Like they were being lazy, you know.
Yeah.
And then the way the characters were written, like, okay, we have this the Scarlet. She's apparently a reincarnation or like a rendition of Iggy Azalea, the white Australian rapper.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Scarlet. That's who we have as Scarlet, because Scarlet was my favorite character on Clue because red's my favorite color. So I was like, no, no Iggy Azalea, I don't want to see you. And they said apparently it was one line where it's like, we already know Miss Peacock is always the one that kills, is always the one that did it, you know. So we have her character be the one that actually killed the host of the party. And then once she gets interrogated by the detectives, then we see her get murdered. And now they're trying to figure out who committed this murder of Mrs. Peacock. You know, it's I'm interested in issue 2, but it was cheesy in a way where it could be toss up. You know,
it definitely is to see. Yeah, the second issue is going to make that decision, because like their dinner party and how their banter, the guy with the knife, I think Mr. Green, was horrible, and I was just like, oh.
It didn't even make sense. His argument made no freaking sense whatsoever. He said, "Whoa!" I mean, like, yeah, he was you know, posing a question that, of course, has been asked throughout all the time, but it just didn't seem what his character would actually ask. I mean, even let's say I never watched Clue. I've never been introduced to any of Clue characters I didn't know anything about, and this is my first actual impression. I don't feel like the character Green, from what we were introduced, to be saying things in that way, you know, or even saying something in that degree. Like I don't see him actually putting his knife to somebody's throat, and then this person being so nonchalant about it, like not even phased whatsoever. Him posing question on whose life is more important, you know, the researcher or the person who funds the research.
Okay.
Just,
yeah, it's borderline right now. I mean, there was some fun things with it. Hopefully it gets smarter. I think that might be the thing, is it didn't feel very smart compared to some other stuff we're reading right now.
Yeah, and then the whole part where they were talking about a clue being given on who the murderer is. There was no clue given. I actually read it twice just to see.
And then because there was pages at the end. So the thing is, they want you to buy multiple copies, because there's 3 extra pages at the end, and depending on which ones you get 3 different alternate pages.
Oh, like the game, right? Where you have your.
Okay, that's why I didn't get it. Okay, but you know what? Like you said, it's a toss up. It could be either or.
Yeah.
Especially depending on next issue.
And it could be. There was some smart things, because like, so you get to the end of the story, and then you start getting to the ads, and I was thinking, I was told there's going to be some extra, and then you get to the last page, and the butler goes, "Oh, so you just went flipping through all the ads and got to the last pages?" And I was like, that was kind of good. That was a good break of the fourth wall. So
yeah, it was. That was the only one, I think, though, that I really enjoyed from the fourth wall breaking. But you know, when I was reading it, I was you know, smiling because I was looking at the little nods of this and that. But then after I read it and I absorbed it, and truly I was like, oh, I don't know, you know. You read it and you're like, oh, this is pretty okay, this is decent, and then you realize what you just read and you're like, I have some problems here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think the second issue after we read it, we'll get some reflection, and that will make the decision. So.
Yeah.
And it's a big week. I don't know. Next time, if my hands are full, I might leave it on the shelf. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, new book I read was Bank Shot.
Oh yeah. Bank Shot.
The new Alex DeCamp book. Crisscross on art. I like both creators.
jump, jump, crisscross.
Exactly. Gotta put my pants on backwards first, though.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so this is kind of like it's really action film oriented. I mean, it's lots of. Did you read this, Rez?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, lots of stuff blowing up in it. So when I open it up on the inside page, I typically don't read that. I was looking to make sure I knew who the creators were, and whatnot. And there's this little blurb down below it, and I thought, oh, interesting. I wonder what's here for it being a first issue, because that's usually the space where they tell you this is what happened in the last issue, or whatever the case may be, right? So it says that this Marcus King is a modern day Robin Hood or a terrorist, maybe both. When he comes to face with adversary who knows all these careful, brutal truth, blah blah blah. Basically, it says all this stuff about him, but I got none of that out of this comic.
Oh my God! Thank you for saying that, because I was like, I didn't get that either.
I mean,
I'm like,
we may get to that, but right now, what was on this is totally. I mean, so it opens up, guy walking in the FBI, place, walking into the office, and he meets with all of his superiors, and his superiors all got bloody noses and black eyes and bandages all over him because some dude named Marcus King has kicked the shit out of all of them because they messed with his girlfriend or something, is the implication. And this guy gets scolded and told, leave this guy alone. No one's supposed to deal with him at all. He's like, but the guy's a terrorist, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, we don't care. Don't. He threatened he was in my home. My kids were upstairs. He beat me up, not having anything to do with this. We're just going to ignore him unless I tell you otherwise. The guy's all mad about it. And then we go and we get kind of as the current story is being told to us, we're also getting a backstory of who this guy was before he was Marcus King. He's working in, I don't know, the equivalent of Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever. He's basically working special ops for the government. And, he's helping get rid of dictators and put new dictators in place and vice versa. He's on this op to get rid of this dictator that they helped put in place a few years ago. They go in to take him out. It goes all kinds of bad. I mean, one part of me likes the action that happens during this whole crazy combat scene because you can't tell what the hell's going on. Which if you were actually in the combat, mines are going off, cannons are going off, big guns are going off. I can't tell who's who. And I would assume if I was actually in war, in that kind of craziness going on, I wouldn't be able to tell who's who either. I mean, I did not know who the good guys were, who the bad guys were, who the American soldiers were. Half the time I thought the American soldiers were shooting each other. So I don't know if that's problematic or not when I'm reading the story. Marcus comes across this guy who's dressed as a peacekeeper, UN peacekeeper. He's wearing the blues, but he's driving in the back of a truck that's full of treasure. I mean, all kinds of ill-gotten gains, gold, money, gold statues, all kinds of crazy stuff. All the Americans get blown up. All the Americans get blown up except for our Marcus. Marcus isn't even his real name. He ends up driving the guy, helping him out a little bit because he's given the choice to drive this truck because no one else knows how to drive a stick. And the truck they have is a stick. The guy that knew how to drive a stick was killed. They drive him and then they try killing him. He runs off and it looks like he gets shot at the end of it. But clearly we know he doesn't die because he's in the current telling of it. And the current telling of it, he's striking some sort of deal with the equivalent of the KGB, whatever they're calling themselves these days, to go take out somebody that's in a Ukrainian camp somewhere, some scientists or some sort. And we're not sure exactly what that has to do with. We're not even sure who the hell this woman is at the end of it. That because he says, oh, if this guy's there, I'll take him out for free because I hate that guy so bad. And this woman pops into their middle of their meeting and goes, we don't do anything for free because if we did it for free, people wouldn't appreciate it.
I would have said,
okay.
That was me. I would be like,
sure, I'm totally behind that, but it's all very random though, right? I mean, it's not like
it was.
Yeah, so I was not real happy with this first issue as far as it making any kind of sense. And with the pretext of the opening, that little thing that says this is who the guy is, we have nothing that shows us that whatsoever.
I agree.
I don't know. So
I concur.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll be clearly because of the way our comics, I'll be getting more of them just out of premise. But this, as much as I like Alex DeCampi and I like Chris Cross, nothing about this made me excited to read the next issue. really.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, because I want to be interested. So I'm hoping next issue gives me all the stuff that first part gave me. But this is a 5-issue miniseries, so I don't know. You know, we don't got a lot of room to give me that. You know, I almost feel like they would have been better off not having that thing at the beginning, because then I went, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to get for a story. But nothing told me that. Other than was that opening supposed to be enough? Shouldn't the comic itself actually tell me that or show me that? I don't know.
Well, you know, it's definitely a disappointing first issue for someone who just came off of a good book.
Mayday.
Yeah, Mayday, which was phenomenal. So like you read phenomenal work like Mayday, and then you jump onto Bank Shot, and you're like, what the?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not even thinking about other books like the very beginning of No Mercy. That first issue is perfect. It sets everything up to kind of give us an idea of what's going to happen in it. This one just didn't have the setup. It felt like I was watching an action flick that I watch when nobody else is in the house, and I don't really care what I'm watching. I just kind of want noise around. So I find some 1 or 2 star action flick on Netflix, and I just kind of let it run. That's what this first issue was. It just kind of drops us in the middle of something. And I don't have a problem with being dropped in the middle of something if then it gives me something to work with. I don't feel like this gave me anything to work with, especially, like I said, with the pretext at the beginning of that telling me that he's either a terrorist, he's Robin Hood, he's none of these, he's full of all kinds of, like bravado, all kinds of bravado, but what can he really do when he's pressed? I don't know.
Yeah.
Run away, I guess. I don't know. So
my problem is that, okay, they present him as this character, like in the beginning, they give that little blurb that says he's Robin Hood, or terrorist. Okay, one, I wonder how it could be such 2 extremes. One, when honestly, the only character they showed us was, this poor soldier who was put in a really sticky bind, and then towards the end when they're showing him in present day, he's pretty much a mercenary. So it's like, okay, that does not look Robin Hoodish at all to me.
Right.
But terrorist, I can see where that would kind of be a situation. I mean, he did beat the crap out of this whole organization, and I think they showed us a room full of people that were killed straight out.
Oh yeah, and all of his this guy comes back from vacation. All of his agents are just in a room, and they're all strung all over the place. All of them are dead.
Yeah, very dead. So, for me, it was so action heavy. It was a turnoff. I'm already not really the hugest into like action comics. Like action films are fine for me, but action comics, they can definitely get to the point where you're like, okay, it's so much happening that you just want to read. Because I mean, ultimately, I'm a reader. I love reading. Like I started off my journey with reading novels and things. So sometimes I had the habit of wanting to read words before I actually look at a picture. And so this is the kind of book that I found myself reading and then going back and studying the actual art because there was so much going on, that it distracted me in a way. And then I felt like it wasn't the greatest first issue for me, but I'm curious enough to see where it's going to go. I'm glad that Alex Campi usually does these 5-issue things, because that it's not going to be something long and drawn out.
Yeah.
But I
would be disappointed. I would be more disappointed if it wasn't her on the book. I have a certain level of trust with her as a writer that I'm going to, like the next issue or whatever, I will get something. If this was just somebody I had no idea and I just randomly decided this was a book I wanted to pick up, I would be like going, God, I'm 3 issues into the damn thing already. And I would have normally been done at 1. If I had just picked this up off the shelf and read it without having ordered it, I would not be getting issue 2.
Yeah, I feel the same way. But because I really like the Campi's writing, I'm gonna give her another chance. But yeah, I mean, I it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't one of my favorite reads this week at all. And this particular series would have benefited based off of how the first issue read, it would benefit it from being a little bit longer than 5 issues, in my opinion, because it reads so odd. It makes you wonder how it's going to translate within the next 4 issues. Like if it's going to even read well, you know?
I just can't imagine they're going to give it that much more depth. That's the problem. It's going to be an action comic.
Which is why I said if it had a few more issues, longer than 5 issues, how, you know, maybe it can have that opportunity to grow, you know, into something nice. But I think this first issue kind of started on a really rocky road.
Agreed. Yeah. All righty. Any other indie books you want to talk about?
Let's see. I really want to talk Saucer State.
Okay. Saucer State, issue number 2.
Yes, issue number 2. I didn't like this one as much as issue 1, personally. But there was a situation towards the end that I really loved. We have assassination of 2 very, very meddling folks.
Oh yeah, those guys were in Saucer County. Those guys were awful. I mean, they screwed with the president quite a bit, you know.
They did, and they were exposed for this issue.
Well, yeah, they're big time conspiracists. They believe in UFOs, but they think the government's hiding everything from them, and it's, you know, the government's actually selling people to the aliens for abduction and whatnot. And they wanted her to become president. After they didn't want her to become president at all. They messed with her. Then they decided they'd help her be president, supposedly. So then they could she would expose the government and all their evil doings and whatnot. And of course, she's not doing that, so they want her, you know, they want to screw with her again. So this guy picks them up, and they're all excited that, you know, they're gonna all get right. They're all gonna get her. They're gonna get that woman. They're gonna get that stinky Mexican woman who's president, and they get theirs. Yeah, they get drove out into the desert.
Yeah,
and ask questions.
It was awesome. I was like, and then we also get Michael admitting how he's seen the fairy, and he believes that the fairy is real.
Yes, he's seeing the fairies. He's still seeing the fairies again. Yeah. So
yeah, another problem.
And so everybody's like, he comes in and goes, "The fairies, they're real. I think they're really real." You mean the fairies you talked about before? And he's like, "Yeah, they're really real." And the president, you know, who's this is her ex-husband. This is her ex-husband. She's like, "Okay, so we need to get new tinfoil to wrap around his head and his house, because he's clearly being hit with the crazy ray again," kind of a thing. Which is funny because they're talking about you know, little gray men coming down and abducting him. But so you know, that whole part's just kind of, I just love how they kind of blow it off, because so what's happened at the beginning, well, last issue, in this issue, we addressed the fact is all these lights have shown up in the sky. They've projected, they think it's going to be a year. In a year, these lights will come to Earth, will make it to Earth. So the aliens are going to be here in a year. So the president is, you know, getting these special groups together, calling up NASA, telling them spend all the money you need to figure out how to get us to them before they get to us. She's calling up the military and going, spending all the money you need to. I want a gun that's going to deal with these guys and whatnot. So there's all these different aspects of it. You know, and she's like, okay, you know, watch the Russians. If the Russians look like they're coming on TV to talk about this, I want to make sure I'm on television before that, you know, to try and tell people kind of what's going on or whatever. The part I really liked about this issue was they had this debate on, should she now come clean and tell like the lead generals that she was abducted? You know, she has firsthand experience of being abducted by the gray man. And there's this debate amongst her inner council. She's created an inner council of people. And one of them is her PR person. Her PR person is like, man, you should tell everybody. You should just make this, you know, this is how we should go with this whole thing. And she's got a skeptic on her team also. The skeptic's like, well, I don't think you should do that. And he goes to this whole kind of, let's turn the television on and flip through the television and see how other people are responding. And it goes through, you know, the people like, oh, you know, come to Kentucky. We get abducted here every day. They love us. We love them. You know, the religious people, of course, you got every type of religious rationale you can for the aliens. Yay, we're happy to have them here. clearly they're men of God. Clearly they are God. Clearly they are the spawn of Satan. You know, I mean, every verse you could possibly think of. And he's like, if you come out and say this, that you've been abducted, whatever, you're going to get mixed right in with all the other crazies. And everybody's going to be seen as the truth. And you're going to have to wait a year to figure out who's really true and what's really the truth and what's not the truth. Plus, these little gray men have been around abducting people forever. Why are they now suddenly making a production that here they come? Is it even the same people? Whoever abducted you, that supposedly abducted you, because this guy is still not totally on board with the whole abduction thing. If these are the people that abducted you, why are they now, after all these years, suddenly coming forward? You know, kind of thing. So there's a lot of interesting kind of things for me. It's not like the book wowed me, but there's a lot of stuff for me to go, aha, and to think about afterwards and go, oh, wow. You know, how would the world respond? It reminds me, portions of this remind me a lot of Letter 44.
It does.
We're talking about aliens coming down and possibly attacking, or we don't know what, and how do the governments respond, and what do they tell the people or not tell the people, you know, and all that kind of stuff is all in this. So that's all kind of really kind of interesting stuff, so I enjoy all those aspects of it. But like I said, they're doing all this rushing around. She is the president's making all these calls and, you know, these power plays and getting these special groups together. And like I said, her ex-husband comes in, he's on the inner circle, and he starts talking about fairies, and they just all kind of look at each other and go, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Because they do. Because I mean, it was exposed in Saucer Country that there was a group that had this laser, this kind of microwave laser that they can hit you with and project stuff to you and kind of mess with you. So they're like, oh, okay, maybe he's just getting messed with again. But no, the fairies are real. They gave him a cupcake because he was stuck in a traffic jam. They gave him a cupcake to eat while he waited.
I tell you, this issue had, like you said, it wasn't. It was a good issue for me, at least. I mean, I enjoy the.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I just enjoy the first one more.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, the first one kind of, you got everything warmed up and whatnot, I think, to get going again. This issue is more along the lines of, I mean, not tons happened. It's more just kind of like now everything's getting ramped up. You know, this is the whole, you know, get the whole thing stirred to see what's going to be next and whatnot. And for, like I said, for me personally, I liked it just because it gave me a lot to think about, you know, after I'm done reading the comic, I put it down. Oh, what would that be like? How would the government really respond to that kind of stuff? How would people respond to all that kind of thing? Just, you know, so I found that all kind of interesting.
What'd you think about her alien baby?
Oh yes, so yeah, she's she thinks she's being abducted again. They're coming to visit, and she's like, "Oh God, they're gonna hurt me. They're gonna hurt me," because they hurt her the last time that they. And she's like, you know, and they're like, what's really weird is the communications is in a weird, different kind of text bubble, and the aliens talk and she talks, and it's all the same,
right?
Right, so you're not sure exactly who's saying what. I mean, it took a bit for me to figure out who's saying what to it. And yeah, they basically give her a baby. And she's like, oh, my baby. So she's got this gray, because they call them the grays, these little gray aliens, you know, the standard, you know, big-eyed, you know, short little giant-headed things. They give her baby at the end of it. And you're like going, okay.
That's what I was thinking. Like, that's a horrid-looking baby.
Yeah, because I mean, right, you know, standard aliens, you know, your standard, you know, your standard alien, right? Kind of thing. And at the end of it, she's like, oh, my baby. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know how she's going to explain that. Suddenly she's going to be like, oh, yeah, I got a baby, too. I mean, out of the blue, Madam President has a baby.
Yep.
So
crazy.
Yeah.
That was the most intriguing part for me, though, that ending part.
Yeah. For sure. It'll be interesting what's next. I love the cover. I love this kind of, you know, ant view of the characters you're looking up at on that, and that kind of weird X-Files green tint to it. I don't know. I like that. Very alien abduction-y kind of a silliness to it for sure. Alrighty. Anything else?
I picked up Joe Gollum.
Oh, excellent.
Detective, and it continues to be a solid story. It is the two detectives have followed these guys to a rendezvous point. Our Germans or Nazis have met up with this other scientist who collects occult material, and it's a tuning fork that you put partially in your sternum, and then the other part punches up through your mouth, and then you're able to channel the Cthulhu gods. And so the two detectives walk in on this while the the magic is going on, and chaos, of course, erupts, and there's all this power being pushed through the guy who is communicating, and they have to chase after him and figure out what's going on. So it just continues to be just a solid story. It was exactly what I wanted. It is this weird little idea on, you come across some occult stuff, and one person believes in all of it, Joe, and the detective who is skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still sprinkling very, very little. And for 5 issues, I don't know if they're even going to truly cover Joe, if he's truly the Golem that we saw at the first issue that was only like 1 or 2 pages, or if that's just something that's going to be carried on through many of these miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like it. I mean, it's just a good story. So I'll continue with it for even $4. It's still good enough.
Yeah, cool. Always sounds interesting for sure. I may have to pick up the first trade because I know the first series I think is out in trade. This is like the next run of whatever. So,
yep.
And I like occult detective kind of things. I don't know why I didn't get that. It's one of those books that I knew it existed, but I don't know why I didn't pick it up because that's typically be right up my alley of things that I'm interested in reading. So, let's see. Shudder issue number 29. I thought this was going to go to 31. Maybe it's only going to 30 though. I'm not 100% sure about the way the back matter read in this issue. So this issue pretty much ends all of our side characters, except for like Kate and a couple other people. We actually it's told, you kind of get to see what happens with Catechus. You get to see what happens with Christopher. You get to see what happens with her sister, her best friend who is trans, her ex-girlfriend Huckleberry. We get to see what happens to just tons and tons of people throughout this thing. And the way it's told is it's like we'll get a page that's like, 2 weeks from now, and then we'll get we'll get a now page, then we'll get a 2 weeks from now, then we'll get possibly 4 weeks from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now, depending on how long these people live. We actually see what happens to them in the future for all these different characters. What's really interesting is that there's a wedding at one point, and so as you hop through these different timelines of each of these different characters, most of them end up meeting. You're seeing this wedding from a different, either the people who are getting married or somewhere in the audience watching the marriage, kind of a thing. So we see all these different kind of things, which is satisfying and also at the same time, because it's the end. 29 issues. It seems like this comic has been around a lot longer than that. I feel like I've been reading it for a very long time. So we get introduced to some new characters in this issue. So new characters that have already been around for an issue or two. I don't know how that's all going to pan out, but I've really enjoyed it. There's no way I can explain this whole story. I don't want to begin to at this point if people are going to read it in trade. Because I know you've been kind of reading it in trade, right, Rez?
I've been reading it from trade. I always tell people to get it, to read it, but I never can explain it to them. The volume, I said, I told people, well, it's kind of like Shudder in a way, but not Shudder, it's like Saga in a way.
All right.
But then by volume 2, it just changed that.
Yeah. Well, quite honestly, I went to Joe Keaton. He's the guy that writes the book a couple years ago. And I go, man, I'd love to talk about this book more and try and sell it to more people. But I mean, this is when it's already 20, it's probably about 17, 18 issues in. I'm like, but I don't know how to talk about the book without literally just saying what happens on every dang page, which of course I don't want to do. And it goes, oh, well, it's really easy. And he tells me what the first issue is. And he doesn't explain it beyond that either. Oh, there's this Kate. She's a photographer. That's why it's called Shudder. She has this dad who is this great adventurer. And, then she suddenly gets attacked by a bunch of, some guys try to kidnap her and whatnot. And she finds out her dad's not really who she thought he was. Okay, that's issue 1.
Yeah.
What about the rest of it? You know, it's kind of like there's a lot more going on than that. You know, I just laughed. You know, I just thought it was hilarious that it's like, okay, so you can't explain it any better than I can. Okay, you know, but it is that, you know, and she's trying to pick up the pieces of what her dad has dwelled into, kind of a thing. There's these reality manipulating red-faced people who are kind of,
who's our mom also.
right, who are manipulating kind of reality to force people to function in a particular way, to kind of keep them in power and keep them alive. And they are attempting to, you know, figure that out and shut that down. And she's got all of this menagerie of friends along the way who are bizarre and interesting people in their own right. And so we get off on their stories at different times or whatever. And anyway, we're coming to the end of it. We get to see the end of a lot of these people, which I said, you know, some of it was really fun. Some of it was bittersweet. And I'm really curious to see if it's next issue or the issue after that, when this whole thing all ties up, what it all ends up being like. I will sit down once it's all done. I know at some point I will sit down and just read through the whole thing all in one shot, because there have been big gaps between some of this stuff. To remember some of that stuff that was the beginning that maybe I've forgotten, to go, oh, wow, that's what happened to that, you know, kind of thing. Or I missed that the first time through, because I'm sure there's stuff like that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Any other books you want to talk about?
Let's see. It's a book from Black Mask called Beautiful Dark. Beautiful Canvas. Did you read that?
I didn't. I thought about picking it up and then decided not to. I saw some preview pages for it, and I just wasn't 100% sure if an assassin book, because isn't that kind of what it is, was what I wanted to read or not.
Yeah. You know, honestly, again, reading that sample, you have to be careful, because it gave away a good portion of the book. Not enough. I have to say they did a good job with what they did offer for the sample, because I was a little surprised by the end of it, for sure. And there was some odd moments in this book. Okay, first starting off, the girl, she's a assassin. We find out that her girlfriend's pregnant. She pretty much wants to get out of the game in a way. You know, she's just on his last assignment by this filthy rich woman who is also a murderer. Like we see her watering a plant with blood, and the plant is actually a human hand that she cut off of someone that we also see that is attached to her wall.
Wow.
Multiple parts of his body missing. I mean, ruthless woman, very ruthless. We don't know who this person is just yet, but it's obviously someone who's wronged her. How wronged? I don't know. Enough for her to decide to dismember them. Absolutely crazy, right? But we see her give this assassin. We see her give her a command to go to this house and kill this child. She goes to the house. She kills this adult that's in there, and instead of killing the child, she decides like, oh, go ahead, take the child with her, and they run off. And so while she has a child with her, the child is very inquisitive, very intelligent. You know, asking her, hey, are we good guys now? I mean, are you a good guy? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, well, am I a good guy? And she's like, well, yeah, I guess. Well, are we both good guys? And she's like, yes. Well, why do you have a gun? You know, things like kids will ask, you know, some curious questions. And, you know, they're bonding while they're having this little road trip. Of course, this very rich woman has surveillance, and she has spies everywhere. So she learns of this hit woman not actually executing the plan of, you know, and so she decides to send a team out for her. And this team is made up of several different mercenaries that are not really human. They're like X-Men-y kind of, you know, like they're one's like a lobster hybrid woman, another one's like a crocodile. Like they're all different, you know, like somewhat DC-ish Marvel characters in a way, right? And so they crash into this hit woman's car and try to take her out. Last scene we see is her passing out. We think, okay, she's probably dead, right? Well, it flips and we see that she's waking up. She's like, okay, everyone, all these mercenaries are dead now. And she goes and walks further into the woods and sees the boy with fire coming out of his hands. And now we understand why this billionaire woman wanted this child dead, because it's obviously has some kind of very powerful powers, and the child's crying, and then the hit woman, now realizing what she's done by not killing this child, she is about to be like a moment where, you know, Carol's like, look at the flowers, Lizzie, kind of thing, you know. Like a decision on, you know, if she's gonna, you know, make little boy look at the flowers. We don't know, but I liked it. I liked it enough. It was really cool because, I mean, at first I was confused about the whole hybrid people, the Marvel / DC knockoffs. I was kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? Why do they have these kind of characters in here? Because it didn't feel like that kind of book. It felt like a book where straight-laced, like regular drawn characters, and then we had these crocodile people and all this other stuff and wearing costumes and stuff. And it all together, it was a pretty good book. I liked it. I'm gonna definitely tune into issue 2 for sure. But
well, dang, it sounds cool now. Now I wish I'd picked it up.
Yeah. That X-Men part, when the little boy had fire coming from his eye, he's crying like, "What did I do?"
Exactly. Wow.
Lizzie's brother, I guess.
Now, huh? Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. Alrighty. Any other books we want to talk about?
Medicine. From Action Lab Entertainment, Danger Zone. This is issue number 2. This one's actually, I like this issue a little bit more. Like, we learned that main doctor, the most valued doctor in the organization, you know, because the villains, they have their own healthcare plan,
right,
and they hire multiple doctors, and they have them under their league, you know. And so we learn more background of some of these doctors that are employed by these villains, by this villain. And we learned that one of the most valued doctors in this organization doesn't actually have these implants that if they try to run and try to escape the league's employment, that they will just die, they'll perish right there. We learned that he doesn't have those implants. And so they turned the whole thing around, because, you know, you thinking that he has his implants that eventually they're trying to get from under the employ. But now we learn that he has full freedom. Like, he's able to escape whenever he wants. Unlike the other doctors who they're employed, they have, you know, they're obviously blackmailed into taking the position of these doctors to fix these villains. We also see one of the villains, which is a female cat. She is pregnant by one of the doctors there, and he was offering to pay for the abortion. And we have another doctor that we learned that he was actually sentenced to jail. He was serving jail time because he lost his license, because he just lost the will to do a good job as a doctor. And we see him being recruited by the organization. So he feels like he owes a lot to the organization for kind of reviving him as a doctor who was blackmailed into the organization because she actually didn't finish school and actually get her correct licensure. So she was practicing being a doctor. She was actually going on, like, you know, had a full practice and everything. And then later on, you know, the main head of the organization, he blackmailed her and said, "Hey, we know you really don't have your license, so either you work for us or we expose you," you know. And so we learned, it was just more so just telling backstories of these doctors and why they came to work under this villain and his corrupt. It didn't really pose any more questions as to how they're gonna break out of this league without being virtually killed right on the spot, you know. So I did like this issue.
Cool.
The premise is cool.
Right. Really interesting premise.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay. I don't have any more books tonight, so.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Any indie book type news we want to talk about?
I've been out of the loop.
Okay. Same here, pretty much. I mean, I can think of one thing, but I don't want to talk about it, so I'm not bringing it up. Ha!
Oh, now I want to know what it is. Yeah.
So at any rate, I guess we'll call it a night with that, and hopefully we'll be back next week, talk some more books and whatnot. Any parting words of wisdom from anybody? No? Okay. I always love that. I always give everybody the opportunity, and nobody ever wants to say anything. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Always appreciated. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the comments that come later on too. you know, what'd you read that we missed out on that we should have read? You know, was there something special this week that clearly we missed the boat on? Let us know. Until then, we'll see you next week where we'll be back and talk some more comics. Have a good night, everybody.